I don't know if a wiffle ball home run derby has ever looked as easy as it looked last night in Coors Field. Bill, as you shake your head, Pete Alonso just bopping his head, smashing home runs on his way back to back Major League Baseball home run titles, home run derby titles, I should say, as we start today. What'd you make of all that last night, man?
Yeah, I've never seen an athlete that that did something that looked as effortless as I did see Pete Alonso last night hit home runs. Like it, I mean, I know it's a home run derby, and give a little bit of credit to his pitcher because I thought his the pitcher for Juan Soto was the guy who let Soto down. I know Soto got tired there, but I thought that the guy, I mean, it was Alonso who even got hit by his own pitcher.
Yeah, I love that. He just started laughing.
But I mean, I've never. That was the craziest performance. That's the first time I've watched the home run derby, and I don't know how long. And it was kind of one of those things. To be dead honest with you, last night I got into a Ted Lasso kick. I decided to go down that wormhole and watched 4 episodes. I started early. I started like around 6:30 ish, 7.
First time?
First time, yeah.
Welcome, welcome.
So I watched the first 4 episodes of that, and then I was like, "Well, I'll go to bed." And I flipped over and started watching the home run derby, and it really was like it was fun to watch, but it had me thinking, what athlete have you ever seen where? And again, I know it's a home run derby; it's not a baseball game. They're serving up pitches like that. So it wasn't just that he was hitting home runs; it was that he was nearly hitting them into the concession booth in left field. Like every home run he hit, I think it was Carl Ravitch who was doing it, was basically like, "Oh, that's a record. Oh, that was going to be a record. Oh, I think that was a record." I was like, I mean, those were monstrous shots, and like you said, he was doing it all while bouncing along to the music he had picked out there, just having a good time. Didn't look like he was going to call a timeout. What on the I think the Juan Soto one where he and then I think was it the yeah, was it Juan Soto where he had to get to 17. I think he gets to 15. He calls timeout for really no reason whatsoever other than just to make Soto sit there for a few more minutes.
It was something that I've never seen. We knew having it at Coors Field with the altitude and the whole thing, it would look maybe a little different, but man, it just looked so easy. And poor Baltimore's Trey Mancini, great story. Had a great final round. I thought he was going to be really tough to beat, and then Alonso comes up last and just is on a different planet. Unbelievable, and takes home his second straight Major League Baseball home run derby. I think I just heard that he, King Griffey Jr. and who else was the other one that they mentioned? Yoenis Cespedes, I believe, the only back-to-back winners of the home run derby in Major League Baseball history. And that thing has evolved so much, I feel like, just in the last several years, Bill. Remember Chris Berman used to do it all the time, and it was about 1,000 backs, and it was a lot slower than it was last night. I kind of felt bad for the kids out there shagging balls because a ball would be put in play while one is still skying up there. And fortunately, I don't think anything bad happened with a line drive coming straight at anybody that was trying to catch a previous one or anything like that. But they had always typically had waited until a ball landed until they would throw the next one. But because it's now more about time than it is about outs or pitches or however they used to keep score. To me, it's much more fun to watch and much more of a kind of a made-for-TV event. What I saw last night.
Well, you did have what the one kid got injured. Did you see that where they carried him off?
I saw they were taking him off. Yeah, they didn't show how he got injured though, or what exactly happened.
Right. Yeah. Because I was curious. I thought maybe somebody had run on the field, and I was like, well, they're just not giving them their due, not giving them their attention. And then all of a sudden it panned to the outfield, and one kid's hobbling off. So it was an interesting night. That was for sure. The very fun to watch. I hate that I kind of missed the Ohtani portion of it, but I'll try. Actually, as I was sitting there watching it, well, I will actually probably go out of my way tonight to sit down and catch a little bit of the All-Star game, probably especially the start there, and just see a little bit something. I haven't watched much of the All-Star game. Obviously, none last year, not an All-Star game last year, but I'll probably go out of my way tonight to sit down and check out a little bit of the All-Star game and how it looks.
Well, that was Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani in the first round battling. They both had 22 home runs in the first round, and then 6 more in the tiebreaker, in the first tiebreaker. And then they got 3 swings apiece. Showdown, and Juan Soto didn't miss. He had all 3 home runs, and Ohtani missed on his first swing, and that did it. So the final was 31-28 in an epic showdown to start. A great way to start and a great way to finish with Pete Alonso just looking like he was on another planet. So entertaining home run derby last night on the baseball side of things. And you're talking about checking it out tonight. I absolutely will as well, because we've never seen this before, man. Shohei Ohtani starting on the mound for the American League and leading off at the plate. The guy is having a season unlike any other. I mean, I'm trying to put it in perspective for my 8-year-old and 6-year-old, and they know books about Babe Ruth, how he started out as a pitcher and then ended up being a hitter and the whole thing. And that's about the only comparison I can make in baseball history to what Shohei Ohtani is doing. We heard about the hype going in, Bill, when he came over to this country, and it didn't live up to that. He's been dealing with a bunch of injuries, but this season has certainly lived up to what a lot of people thought Shohei Ohtani would be. And to me, he's the reason to watch tonight. He is absolutely why I'll be turning on the Major League Baseball All-Star game. And I don't know how long I'll keep it on. It's one of those things that has to kind of keep my attention or earn more innings as it goes, because it's an easy thing to, I think, to flip away from, because it's an exhibition game, and sometimes it can get a little bit uncompetitive, or just it's not must-see TV. But a guy who's going to start on the mound and then lead off in the American League, I feel like I need to watch baseball history and just to see if anything notable comes of it, more than what has already happened just by doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. It was Tim. Do you have All-Star game memories? Like, is that something that I'll admit, early on in my life, that was something that I was excited to watch. That I kind of grew up watching, and then as I got older, probably as I got into my late high school years, and obviously after that, it's something that I've never cared about. I think after watching the home run derby last night, I don't know, just to flip it on, you're right. I definitely we'll say for certain there will not be a 9-inning watching of this, but I can probably get through about 3 or 4 innings, just watch, Max Scherzer and Ohtani going early on, and then just kind of watch what is the All-Star game, because this used to be the most prestigious All-Star game. What do you think, in the 80s, maybe the early 90s?
Oh yeah, for sure. I was a big fan. I mean, also we have to acknowledge that it's the only game in town this time of year, right? That's always been part of the deal, that it's the slowest time of the sports calendar and really the only thing going on. But the fact that National League teams only played National League teams and American League teams only played American League teams back in the day, to me, made it more unique and special to see them crossing over and competing against each other. And interleague play has taken a little shine off of that in the last decade plus, or however long it's been, probably longer than that. And it just kind of changed the whole tone of the All-Star game. But I think interleague play is good overall for baseball, just not quite as good when it comes to how special and unique the All-Star game can be. But maybe it's also just growing older and not being as impressed with Major League Baseball All-Stars as I was when Bo Jackson was hitting a home run to lead off the All-Star game back in maybe the late 80s, and did it in Anaheim to dead center field in the batter's eye. That's the one that sticks out to me as the most notable All-Star game that I can remember. I know some of you who might be a little bit more experienced than me remember Pete Rose running over Ray Fosse and breaking his leg, and use that as a great example of how things used to be much more competitive in an all-star game before salaries exploded and things changed a little bit in Major League Baseball. So worth watching tonight for sure. Last night's home run derby certainly worth watching, and definitely worth more than a mention today. Second day of the Major League Baseball draft was yesterday, and 6 Gamecocks taken, starting with Brett Carey in the 5th inning, and it ended up being a couple of more Gamecocks taken in the 5th inning. Brady Allen and Thomas Farr ended up going back-to-back, so 3 Gamecocks overall taken in the 5th round yesterday. They were rounds 2 through 10. So then in the 9th round, another Gamecock selected at that point, and then a couple of more in the 10th round. In the 9th round, it was Brandon Jordan, the other starting pitcher that the Gamecocks relied on all throughout SEC play besides Farr, and then Andrew Peters and Wes Clark, both taken in the 10th inning. And break down those teams for you. The Angels is where Brett Carey will start his professional career in that organization, as well as Andrew Peters. So the 5th and the 10th round picks there. Very fond, the Anaheim Angels, very fond of both of those Gamecock pitchers. And then Brady Allen's going to go to the Miami Marlins organization, Thomas Farr, Cincinnati Reds, Brandon Jordan, the Milwaukee Brewers, and Wes Clark, also a Brewers guy there in the 10th round. I was surprised to see Kendall Rogers, who covers college baseball nationally, has a breakdown of the programs that have had the most guys drafted to this point, and the Gamecocks with the 3rd most, just one behind both Florida and Texas Tech, who've had 7 guys drafted. The Gamecocks with 6 guys drafted, tied with Arkansas and Louisville for the 3rd most overall in college baseball. Vanderbilt just one behind them at 5 guys taken. Obviously, their first 2 guys, in Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker, top 10 picks. Tennessee, UCLA, also 5 guys drafted from college baseball to this point. Rounds 11 through 20 will finish out the Major League Baseball draft today. Bill, what do you make of 6 Gamecocks taken yesterday? Does it change the way you think about Mark Kingston's program or the 2021 season?
Yeah, I've gone back and forth on this, and they had a lot of guys drafted. I think at one point they were in the top 5. I don't know. I didn't pay much attention after about round 8, but I think after maybe it was round 10. But I saw a stat that popped up, I think, on Twitter last night that they were one of the top 5 or 6 teams out there nationally in terms of guys drafted. So we knew this was a talented team. Now, one thing I look at was we knew it was a talented bunch of pitchers. And as you just mentioned, you saw a lot of the pitchers come off the board yesterday, and that doesn't count the guys like Will Sanders, who's currently pitching for Team USA. Bosnick never ended up drafted yesterday, correct?
That is correct. Certainly anticipate him coming off the board today.
That was a guy, and that we kind of, I think, all thought Daniel Lloyd, another one that thought was very possible. So, yeah, there's some of it that, again, that you knew the pitching staff was going to be good, but the bottom line is you don't see as many. Brady Allen and Wes Clark obviously standing out in terms of the 2 guys that were regular everyday players. So, yep, we'll kind of see how it plays out for them. I'm not sure what to make of it. I'd probably lean now more to it. A little bit of a disappointment for the season when you end up with 8 guys drafted there. So was it 8 guys, or was it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
so
8? Okay.
6 guys that played in the program and a couple of signees is what I'm seeing. Are you getting to 9 with signees?
No. Okay, yeah, I was thinking it was 6. Hunter Parks didn't play, and neither Cooper Kinney obviously didn't either. And so, yeah, you ended up, because now it does change the numbers a little bit with 6 guys drafted. That's why I was a little confused with the 8 number, but I see how we arrived at that. So, again, Thomas Farr, Brandon Jordan, Andrew Peters, and Brett Carey, the 4 pitchers, and then Brady Allen and Wes Clark, the 2 everyday hitters.
To me, it does kind of fill out the complete story of the 2021 season, I feel like, for the Gamecocks. And I guess it won't be fully formed until after today's Major League Baseball draft. But, we can kind of compare the program or the team as we see it evolve through the season and say that we think it's pretty talented and compared to this or that. I think the Major League Baseball draft kind of fills out that from a different perspective, right? Not just college production, and we all know that Gamecocks from the offense standpoint ended up struggling through SEC play and the whole deal, but the pitching staff had a lot of national respect, and now you're seeing the respect translate in the Major League Baseball draft. 4 guys taken yesterday in the top 10 rounds when it comes to pro baseball that Pete Alonso is on top of right now after being the home run derby champ from yesterday. Love to hear your thoughts at 803-404-6100. You can call or text, get in on the program. Who knows where else today's show will go. I mentioned that it's the slowest time in sports from the national perspective. Do have the NBA Finals, which I guess traditionally haven't gone quite this late, but because of the season in the bubble, things pushed back to Christmas Day to start this year's season. That has moved the NBA Finals to this time of year, so a little unique from that standpoint. Won't get Game 4 until tomorrow night, where the Suns will try to keep the Bucks from evening up the series in Milwaukee there. But something else to keep an eye on for sure, something to talk about. We got plenty of college football to discuss as always this time of year. Less than a week away now from SEC Media Days. Love to hear your thoughts this morning. Glad you're making us a part of your morning routine on a Tuesday in the middle of July. You're listening to The Early Game. It's 107.5.
I think the Cubs, as of a couple of weeks ago, June, were looking to be buyers. Like they were going to go and add guys. But now, when you look at where they are in the standings, behind the Milwaukee.
All right, I hear my alarm going off upstairs. Let me go turn that off.
TC, Chris, David, Trey, morning, gentlemen. Thanks for hopping on with us. Interested to hear Patrick on with Heath later today. The headline, Stanley Cup dented.
Uh-oh.
The second boat parade in 10 minutes.
Uh-oh.
And really, if you don't dent the Stanley Cup, are you doing it right?
How do I look at it? Anybody who plays for the Stanley Cup is pretty dented, so.
Yeah. I mean, that's the trophy version of missing a tooth, right? Losing a tooth.
I know what I'm thinking.
That's right. Dude. This is hilarious the way this thing is written. I'll read it on the show.
So the old Ted Lasso was an interesting show.
Yeah, big fan.
I'm on the episode. I can tell I didn't want to get too emotional. The episode where his family, his wife, and his kid are about to come over.
Right.
I have a feeling it's going to be a tearjerker potentially. So I was like, I don't care to watch before bedtime.
A lot of feedback.
There's a lot of feedback. There we go. Jen, did y'all survive that storm last night?
I think so.
Did you not get a bed? Did it not? I mean, it got wild. Like the wind really picked up. I thought we were getting some of those micro bursts or whatever they're called.
Well, that might explain why there were 2 pool floats that were kind of up against my fence
Oh,
when I was leaving this morning. So
it absolutely just, what was it? Probably maybe 8ish, 7:45, 8ish. I mean, it went dark. The lightning out here was incredible. There was some people took some incredible lightning pictures.
Huh. We were in the middle of trying to take the handle off of a shower to get it to stop dripping. And so that was kind of the world we were living in. So we heard thunder and stuff, but had no idea what was going on.
Oh, it was pretty intense.
Really?
Yeah.
I said that. I wonder if there might have been some wind, just because again I saw a couple things up against the gate.
Yeah, you might have. The storm seemed to come down Old Chapin, kind of in that direction, because it came up behind me.
Huh. Yeah, and I remember looking out and seeing, because we needed to get something out of the back of Trent's truck, and I said, we need to do that because I could see it was coming. So, well, it could be fun to look at things in the daylight now.
Yeah, I'm guessing on the way in you didn't see too much damage though. So,
Yeah, but if you're trying to go anywhere today, and my traffic alert for people in Lexington right now, Old Cherokee is closed right there at the split. So if you're trying to go at Pilgrim Church at Old Cherokee, that is now split. That split is, you can't go Old Cherokee because they have it closed because they're doing all that road construction.
Yeah, Dad went down that way yesterday. He got all angry because it's all backed up and everything.
Yeah, it's completely closed now.
Yeah, DC, it was. That was fun to watch.
Guess I should have ducked my head out.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I
mean, watching a storm here can be a lot of fun. I like to watch storms. There's my nerd.
Yeah,
I can sit here and watch it. I can sit right here and turn around. I got the little TV right there, the TV, and sit there and watch a storm with the best of them.
Yeah, we used to watch tornadoes kind of coming across the fields and stuff. Eerie, but pretty cool.
That would be terrifying, but I would love to do that. I'm one of those weird people. It's like, man, I'd love to go down to Myrtle Beach or something and watch a hurricane come in and just watch the clouds and the sky and everything.
Me too. Guys, are up.
How about Richard weighing in on the YouTube live stream out in Vegas? Up early with us again. Went to Team USA game yesterday. Very disappointing. Got to chat it up with Brian Windhorse, Michael Dunleavy, and Mo Cheekstuff. How does Team USA lose back-to-back games to Nigeria and Australia? Yesterday, the explanation was, well, Nigeria had 6 or 7 NBA guys on its team. Now, losing to Australia, what's going on there, Bill? What happened to are we that old now where we've seen our country just completely fall flat in basketball, or are they just not taking these exhibition games seriously, or they don't really care about the outcome? What's the deal here?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't watch this yesterday. I actually started looking for it on television last night to just kind of see what was going on and what exactly is happening. And so I didn't get a chance to watch this game. I just happened to see it kind of go across the bottom during the All-Star, the Home Run Derby. And I was like, oh, I kind of want to flip over and see what's happening here. But I'm not sure. I guess it's one of those things where you just kind of chalk it up and to okay, these guys, we got to get a little used to each other, build some chemistry before they go over to Tokyo. I don't know. Again, the Utah Jazz, or it's not the Utah Jazz, but Australia did have Joe Ingles, who plays for the Utah Jazz. I think he was their leading scorer yesterday with 17. Australia is actually supposed to be a pretty pretty good team. I think I read where they're supposed to contend for gold because I got into reading a little bit of this last night. I don't know. Again, I'm kind of with you. I now kind of feel compelled to try and watch the next game they play in, just to see what is going on and why they can't seem to win a basketball game. Is it poor defense? Is it lack of shooters? What exactly do they have here that's causing them to not grow and develop a little bit of chemistry? Again, I know they've only been together for about 7 days, maybe 10 days most, but clearly something is not right there, and I don't know exactly what it is.
Ben Simmons is supposed to be Australia's best player, not playing. Patty Mills was lighting up Team USA yesterday, and his coach in the NBA is Greg Popovich, who's coaching Team USA. I get that, but I mean, you got Damian Lillard and Kevin Durant. I think they led the way for Team USA with 22 for Lillard, 17 for Durant, and Team USA did have an 11-point first half lead, but I don't understand. Maybe it's a Popovich saying that the team got better, and there are a lot of things to be covered in the whole thing. It's 4 out of 5 for Team USA, dating back to several years ago, the 2019 World Cup, where Team USA finished 7th. They've lost 4 out of their last 5. We've lost 4 out of the last 5. However you want to put that. It's a story I feel like that I haven't heard about since, what was it, 1988? That caused the change, caused the dream team to happen in 92 when Team USA doesn't win the gold. And I'm like, all right, release the hounds. Let's go to the NBA. No more of this. And now here we sit. I understand basketball is much more international than it has ever been. In the NBA, there are several Australians in the NBA and the whole deal. Same with Nigeria, but I don't get not being able to win these games, and not a good sign tuning up for the Olympics with back-to-back losses, Bill.
No, it's not. And I know they cited chemistry issues again yesterday, just saying that the Australian team, by and large, has grown up playing around each other, whereas these guys, all play on their respective NBA teams. But I'm with you. When you hear that Team USA loses 4 out of 5, that's mind-boggling, because for after we released the Dream Team, there were games. None of the games were ever competitive. In '96 and 2000, Anthony hits us up on the live stream and says, Team USA has a bunch of guards, but we have no height. Every other country will have length and talent at every position. Well, I think we have the most talent at every position. Like, I don't think that the question yesterday wasn't who is the more talented team. It's who plays more like a team. I don't necessarily agree with the fact that it's a height issue either. I mean, Team USA's trotting. They might be not trotting out the, what would you say, the typical post player. I guess maybe they're, when he says there are more guards, but that's international basketball.
There is no typical post player, right, anymore.
Yeah. I mean, that's hard. So I'm not sure exactly if that's where I would go with the problem. I do think there is a chemistry issue right now that they're going to have to figure out and work around, and hopefully they'll be able to do that. But obviously right now they're struggling mightily. And again, I haven't seen it, so maybe I shouldn't speak on it. I haven't watched one of the games because I just assume they're going to blow everybody out. But we'll see how it continues to play out for them.
But every international team dealing with chemistry issues to some extent. Like I'm reading about the Australian team, 7 new players. They changed coaches twice in the last 2 years. You would think they have to work some chemistry issues out as well. The points in the paint, though, was a huge difference in this particular game, with Australia outscoring Team USA by 20, I think 44-24 points in the paint. So maybe Anthony's on to something. I don't think it's necessarily just a height thing. I think it might be a style thing or shot selection thing. Maybe an offensive system thing, but they got to figure it out. Chris says, are they just sandbagging? LOL. Well, I guess we'll see soon enough with the Olympics not too far away. But Australia, an 8-point winner yesterday out in Vegas against Team USA. Back-to-back losses for Team USA in exhibition games. It was Nigeria that we were talking about yesterday, trying to make some sense of, and now it's Australia, who has a better international reputation, I think. Bill, and is supposed to contend for the gold medal in the Olympics, but that doesn't make
I don't think anybody feel much better. Not much of an explanation. Easy explanation for this next story. I think it's Patrick that we have to look to first. The Stanley Cup dented in the second Tampa Bay Boat Parade Championship parade in the last 10 months. And the way the story reads to me is absolutely hilarious that there are handlers of the Stanley Cup. Apparently they were seen, they're called the keepers of the cup, technically. My apologies, that from the Hockey Hall of Fame. I'm sure it's a very prestigious job, but they could be seen carrying the Stanley Cup with a blanket covering the dented bowl and loading it into the back of the car. It will be now shipped back to Canada for repairs. No word on how the cup was damaged, according to the article that I'm reading right now. It's pretty easy conclusion to come to. No, it was in it. I'm seeing a picture of it on a jet ski with a couple of Lightning guys. That's pretty easy to figure out how the Stanley Cup got damaged. Not the first time, won't be the last. To me, I was saying in our video live stream, you can check us out Facebook, YouTube Live, on Twitter as well. But this is how the Stanley Cup should be handled in celebration. A dent to the Stanley Cup is equivalent to losing a tooth in hockey. To me, it's a badge of honor, and if you haven't done it, then you haven't done it right. I feel like if you're a hockey player and you don't have a missing tooth, I don't understand how you're playing hockey. Just like if you won the Stanley Cup and it's not dented, I don't understand what you're doing.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I read, was it Chris Chelios, I believe, was the last time that the cup got dented. Yeah, 2008. It was pushed off a table at his bar, and the dent had to be hammered out, is what I had seen yesterday. So I don't know. I will say that I started thinking about it. That is crazy that Tampa is like becoming title town now. When you factor in that they had Tampa Bay, or the Bucks and Tom Brady cruising around on the water there back in February celebrating a championship. Now you got the Lightning doing the same.
Don't forget the Rays played for the World Series. Played in the World Series for absolutely quite a run, man. To me, it just shows how sports are cyclical, and if you are patient enough, your city, your teams will eventually cycle into it, unless they just don't put any resources in. I'm trying to think of an example. Baseball is probably the best example, where you'll get an ownership group sometimes that just doesn't want to pay any money, and it just wants to keep making money off of its fans and not putting money back into the team. But I mean, we've seen plenty of examples through the years. Kansas City, I think, is probably the best example of a small market team that eventually finds its way to the World Series. And Tampa used to be a bit of not even a bit, used to be the NFL's version of a punchline when it came to the winless season back in the day, where Steve Spurrier was quarterbacking, and those terrible powder orange jerseys, and playing at the big sombrero and the whole thing. And now look at him. Tom Brady comes to town and things change instantly. Well, not instantly. I mean, I guess they did win the last Stanley Cup before Tom Brady technically got into town, so you can't give him too much credit. But yeah, good time to be in Tampa for sure. Interested in hearing how Patrick's trip went. He'll be filling in for Captain Dave this afternoon and producing for Heath Klein from 4 to 7. So maybe you'll get to hear a little bit about that. Heath actually growing up in the Tampa area. So we'll call that today's Tampa extravaganza from 4 to 7. Huh, Bill? We got it. We got that celebration covered in multiple angles.
Oh, I'm sure they will be all over. That's right. We had boots on the ground down there with Patrick, and now you've got a hometown guy and Heath ready to celebrate on air. Well, that'd be a wild experience.
If you had to choose a victory celebration, that would be the one that you choose, right? To go attend in person, that's the one that I would choose.
Well, they've made it really unique. I mean, that is actually pretty cool. They've made it unique with how they do it there on the water, and get out the boats, break out the jet skis. Let's cruise around the canal there. And if you've never been down there, the river walk is actually really, really cool. A lot of things to do down there. It's a lot different than the first time I ever went in 2000 for the Outback Bowl, where you had Ybor City, but they've really fixed it up. And like I said, they get on those jet skis, and some of them get on boats, and they go right down. I don't think, of course, maybe it got carted off under a blanket way too soon, but nobody tried throwing the Stanley Cup from boat to boat yesterday. I did see the tweet. Did you see the Stanley? I think it was the Stanley Cup tweet officially, but then Tom Brady responded to it.
I didn't see the Brady response, even though he dominates Twitter. I should have been watching. What do you have to say?
The Stanley Cup said, "I'm too heavy to be thrown from boat to boat." To which Brady responded, "Everything's a lot lighter when you've had a couple drinks of tequila." Yeah, it says it was the Stanley that at Stanley Cup said, "FYI, I'm too heavy to throw," at Tom Brady, and Brady said, "IDK," which is I don't know. Everything feels a bit lighter after some tequila.
Going back to the classic scene of him being stumbled out, I guess, in the last celebration of the Super Bowl. Some of you out there aren't so sure that it's going to cycle around. Like Anthony hits us up, says, "My Pittsburgh Pirates," the example of a organization not putting money into their team. And then Chris says, "I've been waiting since '95 on my Cowboys." Yeah, I got no sympathy for your Dallas Cowboys. Seeing the Jimmy Johnson era back in the day and watching them win a couple of titles with Troy Aikman and company. But it has been a while. You're right. And I know Cowboy fans are ready for that thing to cycle back. I don't know if that's happening anytime soon, but Dak Prescott seems to have him in the right direction, Bill.
Yes, possibly. No, I don't think a championship. I could be wrong. I don't think a championship is going back there anytime soon. But who knows? We'll just see. We'll see where Aaron Rodgers goes. That's where we turn our professional sports attention after tonight, right? What happens to Aaron Rodgers in the next 20 days?
Yeah, I think it's certainly getting to be that time. Fortunately for us, we've got SEC Media Days coming up less than a week over in Birmingham on Monday. Shane Beamer will get going there. There has been a bunch of name, image, and likeness stuff to discuss in college sports for sure with the big changes recently. And you got a little baseball with the All-Star game tonight, Major League Baseball Home Run Derby last night where Pete Alonso dominated to keep us interested, along with maybe the NBA Finals will heat up a little bit as well here in the next couple of days with the Game 4 tomorrow night. But yeah, from the football standpoint, the NFL standpoint, it is the dominant headline, I think, right now of the fate of the reigning MVP and one of, if not the most storied franchise in the NFL, the one that doesn't have an owner, and what the Green Bay Packers, how they either mend the relationship or move forward with or without Aaron Rodgers. I'm with you on that. It's going to be I don't know where to put my money right now. I feel like it's an even money situation. Is that where you're at right now, Bill, with Aaron Rodgers playing for the Green Bay Packers this year?
I mean, I feel like the Packers are going to wait him out. I mean, that's so.
But what does that mean exactly as it pertains to this season?
I feel like they're going to just tell. The question would be, and I don't, we've seen Aaron Rodgers now. I watched him at the American Century Open this weekend, or the Invitation, or whatever it was, out in Tahoe. We saw him in the match a week ago today. Is he content if his career is over? Like, this is the bluff that the Packers are calling, right? Like, is he content if his career is over? If he's just happy to say, "No, I'm so upset and done with you guys, I won't play football again," or will he come back if they just kind of wait him out? Just say, "Hey, look, you're a Packer. We got you under contract. You don't want to play. We're not trading you. We're not cutting you. We'll fine you for not showing up." I don't know what the ramifications are on his contract for not suiting up are. If he's fined a substantial amount, doesn't get paychecks, or if he just says, "You know what, I'm going to go into retirement." And that's what I mean by waiting him out, because I wouldn't say it's the smartest move. I would say you try and get what you can get for him. And if you want to start Jordan Love, you move on. But this might be where the Packers are going to be so hard-headed. They say, "You know what? If you don't want to play football, if you don't want to play football for us, you're not playing for anybody. We'll just hold on to you here, and you can just retire and call it a day."
Sounds like you're saying they're going to play the dad card.
Yeah.
I will turn this car right around. That's the tone I just heard from Bill Gunter.
We will not have a season. You will not have a season. We'll turn it right around.
Yeah, I guess it could come to that. And I feel like you can never guess what Aaron Rodgers is going to do these days with his perspective on life being a little bit different, I think, than the traditional way to look at it. Maybe that's a quarterback thing, but I think it's a specific Rodgers thing, coming at it from how he looks at things, just watching and listening to him during that match last week about this time, he does things a little different for sure. I guess it could come to that. I hope it doesn't. I want to see him play football.
Well, you feel like that. That's what I'm saying. He feels like, I feel like he's the kind of guy. You've seen him on Jeopardy this summer. I feel like he's the kind of guy who looks around and says, "Look, I don't need this. I'm not gonna play for you. And if you just want to eat the rest of my salary, I don't." Again, Patrick's kind of the contract nerd and understands dead money and how all that's left. But yeah, I can see a situation where Rodgers says, "No, I've had enough." He's kind of, I think he's enjoyable, and I'm not an Aaron Rodgers hater, but he is a quirky guy. The story about he and his family and some of the things that he's kind of done. You had the old Mike McCarthy, Aaron Rodgers story. Like, he's not a guy that I think I'll look at and be like, "Oh yeah, he's squeaky clean. This isn't all his fault." But he seems like the kind of guy who's just be like, "Nah, I tell you what, I ain't going to play this year. I'm out, and I'm not playing for you guys. And if you want to go with Jordan Love, I'll sit over here and drink my tequila and hang out with my model / actress fiance. I don't know when they get married. And I'll do all kinds of funny things in the offseason." I mean, he's a guy who you do think probably a network would pick up to do some kind of analyst role and have him come in and break down games. He seems like he would be okay for that. I don't think he would be the best. So we'll see exactly what happens with him. It is kind of crazy to think that you could have an NFL season. And Tim, I don't know which you want to put the odds on this, without Deshaun Watson and without Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, no doubt. That's part of a weird offseason for sure. But as you're talking about that, to me, it comes down to Aaron Rodgers feels like the Packers need him more than he needs the Packers, I think. And I hope it doesn't come to that conclusion that you're talking about, but I think it's definitely a possibility. We'll continue to discuss as we roll on this morning. Again, glad you're a part of the program. No matter how you're getting us, we're up and rolling video stream wise, YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitter. The station handle is at 1075 The Game. That video stream sponsored by Buford Lending. It's the early game. It's 1075 The Game.
Your 24/7 sports station.
Pretty good. Pretty.
You yourself be feeling pretty good if you go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Couple reasons you'll be feeling pretty good. One, you're going to purchase either a brand new vehicle or a fantastic certified pre-owned vehicle from the great folks at Love Chevrolet. It all starts with the incredible sales staff. Anytime you go on to a car lot, you want to be greeted by someone who is knowledgeable in their industry, who's able to walk you through the ins and outs of why a car or truck will be able to help you, not just on the family vacations during the summer, but with your everyday commute. And that's exactly what you get. Incredible staff over there. Josh Putnell's my guy. I've always gone to him. He's told me about cars, about engines. Look, if you know me, and Jen Jensen will attest to this, I'm not a car person, so I need a little bit of help in that area. And Josh does a fantastic job. The rest of the staff, they are incredible as well. So no matter who walks up and is ready to help you, the sales staff at Love Chevrolet is what sets them apart, in my opinion, from everybody else around here. Go visit them for yourself. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. Not only do they have a great sales staff, they have the largest selection of Chevrolets anywhere here in the Midlands, 14 acres to be exact. They have a fantastic certified pre-owned lot. So if you're looking to send that graduate from high school into the college world this year, you can do so with a certified pre-owned vehicle. And of course, the $1,000 low price guarantee means you can go shop other dealerships, find their deal, take it back to the folks at Love Chevrolet, and they will top it, or they'll write you a check for $1,000. Go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads. Too excited. I'm lower, Craig, on the computer or on the radio broadcast. I didn't look to see what my volume level was up. I assumed it was at 3 o'clock. Got some shots here of Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas in their little practice round. On your feed. Okay.
Yeah, I think my volume's being goofy today on the computer.
Your volume's a little goofy. Yeah, Anthony, I don't think your Pirates are going to be making a run anytime soon. That seems like a franchise stuck in purgatory right now.
Worse than the Cubs.
I mean, the Cubs are, they're 8 games back. I don't know where they are in terms of the wild card. Oh, they're way behind. I see that's true. They got this weird new baseball format, don't they? They're still keeping that. Yeah, the Cubs are right there, kind of. 8 games back isn't impossible. And then the Pirates are just back there at 34 and 56. Second worst record in the National League.
Because he needed to be reminded of that, I'm sure.
I was just helping him, just in case he'd forgotten last night. Of course, it could be worse, Anthony. You could be an Orioles fan. The Orioles haven't been anywhere in a while, have they?
Definitely haven't. Mancini, man. What a great story.
That was fun to watch last night.
You see his swing, and just like he's not that big a dude, and he didn't even look like he was swinging out of his shoes. He was just pounding home runs, man. Crazy.
I'll bring this up. I'll bring it up when we come back. Because there was a moment last night when you speak about that I was like, oh, that doesn't look good. I'll bring up a little joke as I was sitting there in my bed having some chocolate milk, watching the All-Star game.
With a swirly straw. Yeah, I see it all.
I don't have any juice. I drank it all over the weekend. I drank usually I'll have some kind of pineapple, mango, just some kind of juice. And then I'll have orange juice. And occasionally for the kids, I'll have apple juice. So I have just I don't drink milk. We were having this conversation over the weekend because I had some friends over and they're like, you don't have a lot of milk. And I was like, no, I don't. The only time that milk gets drank in this house is when the kids are here, because I had kidney stones years ago, and it was because I drank too much milk. So I don't drink a lot of milk, but I'll have tons of juice. But there was a whole lot of rum that got drank this week. There might have been some mimosas, a little bit of apple crown. So last night I was thirsty and I wanted some juice, and there was none in there. Had to go with the chocolate milk.
You don't do cereal then? No milk?
No.
Good question.
That's occasionally, but you're right. No, I'll just eat cereal plain. Occasionally I'll put it in. I'm not saying I've never drink milk. I'm just saying that it's compared to say 5 years ago.
You're heading back in.
It's definitely a lot less.
Just go ahead with your thoughts about. Go ahead with your home run derby deal. We don't have too much time here.
Okay, I'll bring it up. I'll hit it right here.
All you.
Yeah, Ezra.
Talking about it on the live stream, Tim, was the home run derby last night. That was actually a lot of fun to watch, but I'll admit, I really have never felt older, because Tim is, and I think you've played golf recently, getting out there and swinging the golf club, and if you've got to ramp up and hit one, you're like, oh, your back hurts. And as I'm watching Pete Alonso last night, just drill home runs almost into the concession stand in left field. 500, I think he hit one 519 feet. He was constantly at 490, and then he would just wind back up. And I was like, oh, my back hurts just watching that. The power. And I think you said it when we started the show. He was doing it almost with ease, right?
But it wasn't just him, Bill. I get it. The guy that won the home run derby last time has a lot of power. We know Pete Alonso set the rookie record for home runs and the whole deal. But when you see a guy that's not built like a polar bear in Trey Mancini. Great story, come back from cancer, the whole deal for the Baltimore Orioles.
45.
And he is just popping them right out there. I think 17 in the final round, and 2-minute round, you get a bonus in 1 minute. That was the maybe even more impressive or equally impressive part to me. It's like a short, quick swing, and the ball
30.
goes 450 feet. It's nuts. But I'm with you.
I was
Even
thoroughly
as you were
impressed.
talking about feeling old, I had to sit up and like stretch my back.
That's what last night I was like, oh, my back hurts watching this. Oh, this is gonna go off television.
15.
So our big takeaway from last night's Major League Baseball Home Run Derby: we're old. Let's see if we can make it to hour number 2. It's coming up next year on the early game. All right, I got to run.
Okay, I was gonna ask how did day one of flag football camp go?
Good. I got to prepare for day number 2 now and take the car out of the garage and the whole thing. So I'll be back in a few.
All
Yeah.
right, go get them.
We'll hang.
Wow.
Yeah, I watch watching some of the things like maybe gymnastics or something like that, and people on handstands. And I'm having surgery on my wrist next Thursday, and so anything I watch where anybody's pushing on anything, it's like, oh my gosh, that hurts. Like it's funny how just watching something like, can't do it. Nope.
It's just, I can feel it. I mean, I'm still pretty flexible, but I can definitely tell where I've lost like the flexibility. And I've been trying to get it back. I need to get more into a routine of getting back into the gym. I think that's one thing coming back in studio, how I used to always go down to that little gym and there's nobody there. That'll probably be the highlight of coming back, aside from seeing you, of course. But
clearly.
but yeah, no, that'll be the best thing, is that I'll actually have a dedicated workout time.
It does make a difference. The flexibility, it is amazing what a difference it'll make,
Yeah, I got to get into eating a little bit healthier. I started putting the guacamole on, or not guacamole, avocado. I'm sorry, because it goes in. It shows how my daughter over the weekend wanted avocado toast, and so I was like, all right. So
and she getting fancy.
Oh, she's she'll be 12 in September, and you think she's 17 or 18. Was it Saturday morning she got up and we fixed her avocado, an avocado English muffin, or might have been toast, I forget, but we fixed her avocado and we let her have a cold brew coffee.
Man.
Like the Starbucks, and then put a little creamer in there, put a little caramel in there, kind of a caramel swirl. I was pretty sure I had a 22-year-old, not a 21-year-old sitting at the table, not an 11-year-old. So
yep.
So but yeah, I need to do more with avocado. We did
it's good.
We grilled chicken on Saturday night. We grilled a bunch of chicken, and so we had leftovers. And on Sunday morning, we did an egg, chicken, bacon, ranch, avocado wrap.
That sounds pretty good.
Which actually wasn't bad. Yeah, wasn't bad at all.
Just have to season it a little bit.
The chicken?
The avocado.
Oh, the avocado? Yeah, it came with a little pack of seasoning that you just pour. I don't even know what it was.
Oh, that's cool.
You scoop out the avocado, put it in there, you put a little pack of seasoning. You get those right there next to the avocados, and
yeah, that's good. Good stuff.
Yeah, Chris, I'm teenage years. Oh boy.
My daughter started the Terrible Twos at 1, and I think by the time she hit 19, I think we might have been out of them, maybe 20. So
Jen, you would appreciate this. So we were here on Saturday, and I was kind of joking around, because I'm right at about 164. I don't want to get back under 160. That's kind of my goal. And I'd gone and worked out that morning, and so we're all sitting here, and I kind of made that noise when I stood up. And it was just like the Progressive commercials with the guy who's teaching kids to not be their parents.
Right.
And somebody was like, "Oh, you're turning into your parent." I was like, "Well, I'm an old fat man." And somebody said, "You're not that old, and you're really not that fat." And Ansley chirps in, who's sitting there. Ansley goes, "And you're barely a man." So I
just think that little girl is awesome.
I was like, "Oh, okay."
That's funny. Good for her.
So she liked hanging around the adults all weekend.
I love it.
So, of course, you got Austin, who just disappears upstairs and with his headphones and his buddies on Fortnite, and
Yeah.
that's all right. I think I'm gonna put him in one more basketball camp here at the end of the summer. Actually reminds me.
That'd be cool. Yeah, it's my daughter graduates. Well, actually, today's Megan's birthday, but
Oh, really?
and then she graduates with her BSN, you know, at in the first week of August, and bought the first car this past week.
Oh, really? She
Yeah.
bought the first car, or?
She did. Yep. Basically, you know, floating her the money, you know, for the next month. But we needed to put tires on her car. So it's like, well, why invest in tires on her car? I'll just make the car payment, you know.
Yeah.
Let's get some out of it. So
That
was exciting.
I need to spend some money on mine. I need to go get an oil change, and I really need 4 tires, but I guess I better go with 2 to start. I don't feel like putting down half a mortgage on.
So do you make more left turns than right? Do you need to, like, you know, just put the tires on the left side of the car?
Right now, honestly, I need to get just 2 tires put on. It doesn't matter what, you know, the front 2, the back 2, preferably not 2 on the same side. So yeah, I need to do that. I've been lazy. And yes, Chris, I got down to get an interest-free for 18-month credit card. Oh, just a credit card and put it all on there. I really just need to be an adult and pay down my credit cards. Stop going to the liquor store.
Mm-hmm.
That's the downfall of my credit cards.
Well, look at that. And now we're going to come back in.
He's back. Yep.
Clearly, I can't leave the live stream.
No. He says he's only going to buy 2 tires for his car, not 4. And I asked him if he was going to, you know,
4
put 'em, like,
cars
on the left.
Well, no, 4 tires because I got, what is it, 22s? I got bigger tires.
Yeah, I know.
4 tires is like.
I was trying to get you to talk like race tires, you know.
Oh, yeah, because that's
on
what
the
you see me
left,
zipping
front
up and down old Cherokee in the old Tahoe racing people. You haven't seen it further down Cherokee near Tunas and stuff. Police officers have been sitting down there trying to catch people to come zipping around that corner.
Ah, that's not fair. Guys, rope.
I'm still not sure what I watched last night with the Major League Baseball Home Run Derby looking as easy as it's ever looked to hit baseballs 400 plus feet. And it's not that easy. Is it just more power these days? I mean, we've seen more home runs clearly, and I get it's at Coors Field and the altitude's a little higher, but man, the way that Pete Alonso just was bopping his head around, smashing balls out just time after time after time. And he wasn't the only one, by the way. The Juan Soto and Shohei Ohtani put on a show in the first round, 31-28, I think. Soto eliminated Ohtani, and then Trey Mancini from the Baltimore Orioles, a great story, gets to the finals and has a great round, and then Alonso just keeps popping them out and having fun while he's doing it, and it was a pretty entertaining home run derby last night, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if it was entertaining. I mean, you know, we get it once a year. We didn't get it last year, obviously, but I think what helps is you had some brand names in it, some guys that you were familiar with. You had a defending champion. You were in an altitude where the ball does fly a little bit more, so it was a little bit more impressive. And I think, again, there's a certain feel right now, at least there is for me, when you see an event like that in a completely packed stadium. You know, it's strange because we all took that for granted 2 years ago. being in a completely packed stadium. And so to see that energy, to see the excitement that you're right, to hear kind of the background music. And I guess it was kind of funny to hear Alonso mic'd up. Did you hear him as he went up the last time? They're like, all right, you ready to go? He's like, nah, I'm going to wait till my music comes on. That's like, okay.
He was all about being in the rhythm, wasn't he?
Yeah. And so very interesting to hear that last night. But again, I thought it was a really good time and something that was entertaining to watch. And you know what? They made a comment. I think it was Carl Ravitch and those guys. And I think this was a great point, and I hope it happens, because you had Fernando Tatis Jr., Vlad Guerrero Jr. over there. Juan Soto is a guy last night that they loved because he was willing. He wanted to be a part of the All-Star, of the Home Run Derby, because he thought it would fix his swing. Did you hear his comment? I've been hitting too many ground balls lately. This will maybe help get me back in my groove.
Wow.
And you've got some young, exciting baseball players, and this is a great opportunity to showcase them in this event. And it would be really cool to see next year Tatis Jr., Guerrero Jr., some of these guys get involved in this event, try and dethrone Alonso.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that's going to happen anytime soon. But man, a home run derby, I feel like unlike I've ever seen. You know, I'm a baseball nerd. I used to watch those black and white, the old home run derby show, like the Mickey Mantle days. It's so different because this one, more than I remember, was just as action-packed as you can get a home run derby to be, meaning that they weren't waiting for the ball to land, and it was all about the clock and hitting as many home runs as you possibly could in the clock. And to me, that makes it a much more made-for-TV kind of deal. It makes it much more fun to watch. And it was fun last night. That's what, I mean, it comes down to. I guess I'm seeing this kind of through my kids' eyes, and having played a coach pitch season at 8 years old and 6 years old. Like, baseball is just fun. It's supposed to be fun. It reminds me that that's how sports are supposed to be. And a lot of other stuff can come into play. And I know, especially from the college perspective, we've been talking about name, image, and likeness recently, and how that changes some of your perspectives out there on the purity of college sports and the whole deal. We see it all the time. You just touched on Aaron Rodgers at the end of the last hour, Bill, and the struggle it's been between he and the Green Bay Packers management right now. But this is what draws me to sports. Last night, what you're talking about, a packed stadium, fans enjoying an event, and players enjoying playing them, putting on a show. That's what I love about sports. That's what I think has been missing, by no one's fault, the last, 15, 16 months, where fans hadn't been allowed to participate fully like we had seen. And then here in Columbia, finally, at the end of the regular season, we saw Founders Park open up to full capacity, and Gamecock fans allowed to kind of get back to being in that normal environment, if you will, that one that we did take for granted. And now, having seen it at the College World Series, seen it in several golf events, you got to see it down at Kiowa, the PGA Championship, and seeing it in these championship environments we're talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning celebrating their Stanley Cup championship with their 16,000 people they had in the stadium, and now another boat parade for them, and watching the NBA Finals, watching that scene in Milwaukee the other night, both inside their packed arena and then outside the overflow crowd. It definitely has me appreciating the ability to do that much more than I ever have, I think, in my entire life, because I just took it for granted that that's what we do in America. Is we are fortunate enough to go watch a sporting event with tens of thousands of other people, and never thought twice about it until the last year plus.
No, and I think, for college football fans, just getting back into, especially fans in the Southeastern Conference, where we know how these fan bases are, like getting back into full stadiums is going to be really exciting for a lot of people. I mean, even you think about the Georgia Clemson game, and the price of tickets right now is in the upward 300s, I think, for a big time game in Charlotte, and getting to see that environment. I was looking, there was some lines that I saw were kind of released, I guess, over the weekend or opening weekend, or maybe they were updated, and just kind of looking at some of the games. So you're exactly right. Being able to get back in that environment, that atmosphere, and enjoy it with your friends and your family and everything And last night was another really good example of that, a packed ballpark there in Colorado, people really getting into it, and guys putting on an incredible performance, one that was really fun to watch on television and enjoy there as Pete Alonso. Again, to me, the effortless swing that he was showing and just cranking balls out and just seeing the excitement of other players and kind of the fun being had. It was really enjoyable. It actually was very enjoyable to watch and actually had me saying, hey, tomorrow night, or what is now tonight, I'll tune back in. I'll check out the All-Star game and just kind of see what it looks like.
To me, because Shohei Ohtani going to be the starting pitcher for the American League and also leading off in the lineup, something that I feel like I don't want to miss, a piece of baseball history. Marshall asks us the question on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line, 803-404-6100. Just curious as to whether y'all prefer the home run derby the way it is now with the timer or the way it used to be with 10 outs. To me, this is like asking me, do you prefer the way that college football used to be, ending in a tie, or actually determining an outcome with overtime? It is absolute no-brainer to me that it has gotten infinitely better with a timer, not only for the event itself, but especially for those watching at home, that it just – one of the great things about baseball is there is no clock, right? One of the worst things about the home run derby used to be there was no clock, and it could just go on forever with that 10-out system. That's one of the best things about the home run derby, I think, in my opinion. They got them on the clock, man. It's a competition that needed that clock, I think, to kind of give it a different energy boost and keep it from growing stale or more stale, depending on how you look at it. I think it's pretty fantastic. Bill, is it as a big of a no-brainer in your opinion as it is in mine, or do you see it a little differently?
I could go either way. I mean, look, you're there to watch guys crank home runs, and I don't, the 3 minutes, I don't know. I think they were at one point were kind of breaking it down about the number of home runs and the number of pitches, and probably getting into the 20s. I would assume you might not be able to do that if you're doing the 10 outs, as opposed to just seeing guys just go up and have 3 minutes, have a little timeout in the middle. I don't mind the new format. Didn't mind the old format. It's fun when you get what matters the most to me is getting guys that are somewhat relevant, semi-relevant, that not only can go up there and create some excitement, but have some personality to them. One part last night, because I'd never heard of Trey Mancini until last night, but he had an incredible backstory. Like the what was it, stage 3 colon cancer that he had a year ago, and they were talking with him, and they said, did you ever think you'd play again? He goes, there were days I didn't think I would live to see the next day. Like, the backstory on him, I think, made it really hard. And Pete Alonso seemed like a really good dude. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I know him, very well. I can see why Gamecock fans, because he was a Florida third baseman, is drafted. I thought it was interesting. I didn't quite understand it. They were talking about his contract last night. Did you catch that part where he's only making $660,000? But you had Alonso showing energy. He's up there bopping his head around. He almost, to some extent, was playing the role of villain by calling a timeout to make Juan Soto have to sit there and wait to lose just by hitting one more home run that he could have done without hitting the home run. But I really didn't mind Pete Alonso, but the Mancini story, a guy like Juan Soto, who I'm familiar with, and you had names, you had personalities, you had stuff there that made it captivating television. And that's why I kept watching. Is if you get guys up there who just go up there and swing, I don't care if it's 10 outs, I don't care if it's 3 minutes, but they get up there and they swing and then they tip their cap and walk back to the dugout, it gets a little boring. And you had some great storylines last night. You had Alonso with the energy. You had a fun ballpark in Colorado. It was fun to watch.
I mentioned just the fun and the purity of enjoying baseball. Jerry weighing in on the other end of the sports spectrum. Don't watch the All-Star game. It was stolen from Atlanta. There is that mindset out there, and that's part of the fun of doing the show. That we all see things a little differently, and you can choose to express your opinion accordingly. 803-404-6100 if you would like to weigh in with yours. Love to have you, whether you want to call the Love Chevy phone lines or hit us up on that Cool Care Heating and Air text line. Also up and rolling on the video stream sponsored by Buford Lending on YouTube, Facebook Live, and Twitter. The station handle at 1075 The Game, an easy way to click and watch the show today. Glad you're making it a part of your routine on a Tuesday morning. Get back into that college football discussion. Also, a lot of Gamecocks taking yesterday's Major League Baseball draft. Does it change the way you see the 2021 season for Mark Kingston and company? You're listening to The Early Game. It's 1075 The Game. I'm going to hop real quick just to say good morning and goodbye to the kids.
All right. Go get them. Actually, we'll go get some coffee, some new coffee in a minute here. I was doing one other thing. Tell you what, that sun has shifted on me. That it's harder to see the screen. It's harder to I think I blind everybody occasionally when I stand up and just try to stretch a little bit. Get up and get moving. Need to actually see what the weather. Jen, I didn't hear your weather forecast. Need to see what we got going here today. Chance of rain in the afternoon. Doesn't look too bad tonight. Maybe a grilling night. Maybe some hot dogs tonight. Or maybe grilling a tenderloin. That might not be a bad idea. Come up with some strategy. Come up with a plan here. Jan, even if the balls were juiced, last night I wasn't there to watch flyouts to the little kids in the outfield. I was all for juiced baseballs. I agree. A tenderloin is much better, but I don't know, like, it's the summertime. Although I've eaten so poorly lately, we've gotten into we've been doing hamburgers. We've been doing blue cheeseburgers where you put crumbles of blue cheese in the burger and then put spinach, ranch, and buffalo sauce on the burger. We grilled chicken over the weekend. We've done steak, shrimp. Haven't done scallops in a while. Of course, I don't grill scallops. Well, you could, I guess. Put them in the... Yeah, hot dog. No, there's nothing I've eaten lately. There's nothing I've eaten lately that's healthy. Like, that's aside from the avocados that we were talking about. You weren't around for that, Tim. I've not done a good job. I'm usually real good about salmon or some kind of fish and some asparagus and some quinoa. Oh no, we haven't been even close to that.
So I come back from these live stream breaks with get an interest-free 18-month credit card and tenderloin is greater than hot dogs. Interesting takes, Craig.
Yeah, you leave me here to start debates. I'm gonna get coffee real quick. Sat there and kept everybody entertained with my takes.
Well, take Bill's sunrise away there. It looks like it's a little too sunny for the camera to register. And join the club, Craig. Join the club. I'm with you.
Yeah, usually if I refer to something around Bill, I'm not saying bright, but it definitely is bright. Oh my goodness.
Stream went blind when I walked away.
Yeah, if you're not blocking out that sun with your silhouette, then your camera can't read it.
Yeah,
right?
it's interesting. I mean, you just think about that. It wasn't happening a week ago. It's not like I moved anything, but that's just how the sun's rotating the earth, moving just a tad in one direction.
Oh, Joe Mo on the old-timey clip of the day right now.
Oh, so Craig, do you just not eat hot dogs? Is that what I understand? You just completely stay away?
If you want to get in a real hot dog discussion, I'm totally spoiled. My wife gets the organic, like 100% all beef ones that cost ridiculous amounts of money. But that's what we feed our kids. I've had those for years, and then I went to a game one time and got a regular hot dog, and I had one bite. I was like, "Oh, what is?"
Yeah, the ones you get in Chicago, the Vienna brand, those are good. You know,
Yes, you should definitely be the expert on the hot dogs for sure.
a little bit, but yeah. So some of them
Turkey
are like,
dogs.
Huh?
Turkey dogs sound good. Yeah.
ugh, they're up.
Heck of a run. Craig's on the Facebook live stream. Hasn't had a hot dog in 10 plus years or donuts. Whew. That's a different way to live, isn't it, Bill? I think I might have had both yesterday. Not
Yeah.
bad.
I mean, seems unnecessary. Like you said, there's different ways to eat hot dogs. Does that include bratwurst? Has he not had bratwurst in 10 years?
Yeah, so many questions. I know. Let's see if we can steer things back to the sports conversation this morning. 803-404-6100 if you would like to weigh in. I want to talk about this real quick because, again, I guess this goes back to just your perspective and how you're seeing sports, right? I'm talking about the appreciation that I have for what I saw last night in the Major League Baseball home run derby. And a guy like Pete Alonso, who was just on a different planet, seemingly in multiple ways. First of all, hitting home run, but the way he did it, just bopping his head and in the rhythm, having a good time. To me, it reminds me of just how simple baseball can be. We always make it so much. No, we don't always, but it's easy to make it overcomplicated and spin rate and launch angle and exit velocity and the whole thing. And part of that conversation has been around Gamecock baseball for sure, the analytics and making decisions accordingly, and then the results. It's always a results-based game. And Mark Kingston and company coming off, I would say, I don't know, how do we term the 2021 season? Because we have to factor in what happened yesterday. And the Gamecocks, the third highest program with draft picks taken so far through 10 rounds of the Major League Baseball draft. 6 guys taken yesterday. Started with Brett Carey, and then a couple of other guys went a little later in the 5th inning yesterday, along with Carey and Thomas Farr and Brady Out. And Brandon Jordan goes in the 9th round, and it was Andrew Peters and Wes Clark filling out the day. So it was 6 Gamecocks who played and were in really big roles last year for the Carolina season. Now I'm going to take the 2 signees out of it. There are 2 Carolina signees also drafted in the first 10 rounds, but it does go into the program and who you're recruiting and where it is. But Gamecock Will hit us up a while ago on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. It says, with all the drafted players, it causes me to question if Kingston is the right man for the job. To me, that's one way to look at it. And this goes back to a similar conversation I feel like we've had with Will Muschamp and Gamecock football players going on and having NFL success, and yet the team lost 16 games the last 2 seasons combined. How does it make you look at or fill out the 2021 Gamecock baseball season, knowing right now that only Florida and Texas Tech, the 2 programs that have had more guys drafted? I think those 2 are very notable because neither one of those 2 programs made it to the College World Series. Florida was the preseason #1 team, and the Gamecocks swept them. It was the most notable series win they had all season long, and Florida didn't make it out of a regional either. So I think pretty good examples of how difficult it is in college baseball that I think it's easy for Gamecock fans to either ignore, deny, or not quite remember because of the tremendous success that Carolina had a decade plus ago, going to the College World Series and winning it a couple times and playing for a third straight.
Just FYI, as you said that today, for those who are staying home from work or have a TV in their office, is South Carolina's Takeover Day on the SEC Network. So they're showing pretty much every good game from this past season. I think the spring game will be in there. But coming up here at 8 a.m. will be the South Carolina-Florida baseball game. I believe the big extra inning game. And now I black out on how many innings that went. Was it 13? Why do I feel
14, I believe.
14.
I believe it was 14.
Okay. But
yeah, ridiculous catch by Brady Allen and the whole thing. That was the series opener, I think, in Columbia at Founders Park. I think that was a Thursday night, if I'm not mistaken. But
by the way,
thanks for the heads up on that.
Just FYI, you got some stuff throughout the day there on the SEC Network is part of their Takeover Day, and coming up here in about 30 minutes is the South Carolina Florida baseball game. You know, Tim, the one thing about this where I get a little trying to say, okay, well, they had a bunch of guys drafted, 6 guys, third most of anybody. 4 of them were pitchers. We knew the pitching staff was good. And you still have pitchers that we think are really good. Daniel Lloyd, Julian Bosnick, and Will Sanders. Sanders not draft eligible. But you've got those guys who are still out there. What I don't see is the position players being drafted. And I see 2.
2 guys yesterday. Brady Allen
and
in the
we knew
5th
those were
round
the 2 guys.
and Wes Clark in the 10th.
Yeah, I mean, we knew those are 2 guys. I think it still leaves a lot to be desired, and this is what the complaint was all season, was about the hitting. So you see the pitchers going, yeah, we knew that South Carolina was a good baseball team because of their pitching. The question was the hitting. When we see that playing out, you don't see a lot of the position guys. George Khalil, obviously being a shortstop that was draft eligible. You do have other guys there. They've got to get better at the plate. And I think they'll continue to be good next year on the mound, but it's going to be at the plate where things have to change. And that was the downfall of this baseball team last year. Think about the great performance by Brett Carey in the regional against Old Dominion. And they can't manufacture runs. You know, that's the thing. We talk about Thomas Farr. I never thought Thomas Farr was an awful opening night starter in SEC play. Yet his record, if you just looked at it on paper, his record was that of a very bad Friday night starter, right? So what was he, 1-4, 1-5, I believe?
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
So,
but then you see the guys that he was going up against, and they go first round, several of them. Bednar from Mississippi State. You had Hoagland from Ole Miss. Obviously, the Vandy guys both going in the top 10, and Leiter number 2, and then Kumar Rocker going number 10 overall. And you got to keep that in context. And that's what the Major League Baseball draft does for me every year for college baseball. It puts a bow on the season because it's basically the Major League Baseball evaluation of your talent. And that was part of our discussion, Bill, right? Was Gamecock baseball closer to those national championship winning teams, or was it closer to those teams that didn't even make the NCAA tournament from a talent standpoint and then an execution standpoint? And to me, what yesterday told me was what I thought we were seeing during the season, is that they're closer to those big time national championship winning teams from a talent standpoint and just didn't quite get there from an execution standpoint. Now, I think the challenge is that, hey, Mark Kingston has to replace a bunch of guys that Major League Baseball thought were worth top 10 draft picks. And some of the most talented guys out there in college baseball, having only 2 programs in college baseball have more players drafted. Carolina tied with Arkansas and Louisville, by the way, with 6 guys taken yesterday for the 3rd most, behind Florida and Texas Tech, who both had 7. That's what yesterday told me. I understand Gamecock will say what he's saying, but I feel like it's also a bit of that old Les Miles perception down at LSU, that I understand criticizing a guy for not winning a national championship with a ton of talent, but you also have to give the coach and the program some credit for being able to attract guys like that. And to me, especially in baseball, as long as you keep getting the best players in the country, you're going to set yourself up for the opportunity to make a run to the College World Series, which is what we saw the Ray Tanner program do year in and year out. I get it. You haven't seen that since Ray Tanner left the program. The consistency every year
supposed to
That's
push
the difficult part to replicate. That's
right,
where it
thank
does
you.
come down to
Appreciate it.
coaching and decisions made in the
Same
field.
thing. Bye.
I guess I can understand how Gamecock Will came to his conclusion that he doesn't think Mark Kingston's the man after seeing 6 Gamecocks taken in yesterday's draft, calls him to question that. To me, I look at it the other way, saying, no, I think the program's headed in that right direction. And that was evidence. Yesterday's evidence was 6 Gamecocks taken, a couple of signees taken as well. That's who you got to have in the program.
Yeah, and again, to me, the way I look at it is, and maybe things will change here on day 3, but what you have here is pitchers going. We knew the pitching staff was good. Hitters, position players, not so much, and that's what's got to change. And I don't know where you look at next year. I know that yesterday it looks like 2 guys that they were hoping to get into school, Thaddeus Hector and Michael Braswell, both putting out on Twitter that they will be coming to school. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a baseball recruiting guru, so I don't know what that means or how they fit into the lineup or if they're instant impact guys, but I know that it is players that at least people were pretty high on, and it looks like they'll be getting them into school. But the production at the plate has got to change next year. There's no doubt about that, and that's where we talk about development. That's where you talk about this staff getting the most out of the team and maximizing the potential, because I still think the pitching staff will be fine. You're going to lose, obviously, some really good players. Carey, Farr, come to mind instantly. But and I'm assuming Andrew Peters. I think I saw some kind of wild stat about guys drafted in the top 10 rounds not signing with teams, and it was a very, very, very low percentage. So with all that being said, to me, that what we learn about Mark Kingston in what it will be year 5, I think, is can he produce a team that can score runs, manufacture runs, and back up the pitching.
803-404-6100 if you would like to weigh in. Several of you disagree with my take there. Chris says, you done bumped your head again, Tim. And George Cleo wouldn't start at Gilbert High School, Wild Bill. To me, that shows me Chris is full of baseball acumen there.
That was my point. My point was not necessarily that, but it was, he was a position player and is not getting drafted. So he's agreeing with me there on that point.
You guys not seeing the value of the one of the best gloves, I think, in all of college baseball. You could certainly argue with Khalil. That's a different discussion. We won't go there. And Mark, agreeing with you, Bill, like Bill said, they were mostly pitchers. This team was who most of us non-biased people thought they were. 803-404-6100 if you would like to weigh in. The football projections that ESPN does recently updated, and still boggles my mind that the lack of respect that Shane Beamer and South Carolina have. Maybe that's from my biased perspective. We'll discuss when we come back. Kick off the second half of the show next. It's the early game here on 107.5 The Game. A peach, that is. Sorry to interrupt Chris Clark there. We'll get you that in just a second. A whole peach was the problem yesterday at my household. That's what we gave the 1+-year-old. My wife did peel it first before giving it to him. And then he ends up annihilating that thing, and the pit goes in the mouth, and we have to get in there and yank it out. It just shows our struggle these days around eating time, and then a lot of that stuff. Fortunately, for the peach, most of it got in his mouth. A lot of times that doesn't happen. It goes on the floor immediately. I feel like I have a special relationship with my floors these days, and I have come to appreciate Zero-Res carpet and air duct cleaning that much more in the last few months with the one-year-old tearing stuff up. Zero-Res has come out to my house a couple of times, done a great job cleaning my carpets. They've cleaned an area rug for me, freshened up the tile in both the kitchen and bathroom. I recommend you get them out to your house, not just for those really good results, but also because Zero-Res does it differently than anybody else. They have a patented powered water system, no harsh chemicals involved in their cleaning, and that's especially important at my house. I understand if it's important to you. What's also important to me, that my carpets have stayed cleaner longer than other carpet cleaning services because there's no leftover soapy residue to attract dirt right back into the carpet as well. And right now, Zero-Res has a great deal for you. 3 rooms of carpet cleaned, only $119, plus a free hallway when you mention me, Tim Hill. Give them a call at 803-262-4600. 4020. Book your appointment now at ZeroResColumbia.com. That's Zero Res. Spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Ugh.
Does that make you feel better that Craig loves brats, Bill?
Yes, we can be friends again. Everybody's on the same page now. Everybody's on the same page. Did you see the article too? You're going to mention the Vegas odds on the Pro Football article on the top 130 quarterbacks.
No, I haven't seen that one.
All right, I'll mention this as well because Pro Football Focus is a Patrick staple.
Right? Check it out. See all 32 starters in the NFL. I guess I need to click on the college tab.
Yeah, 2021 college all 130 preseason starters came out yesterday.
Yeah, got it. Sammy Howell, the picture. So I assume he's number one. No,
Yeah.
I assumed incorrectly.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler.
Whoa, I'm shocked with 3, 4, and 5, and 7. Whoa.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Did you see the tweet that I put out yesterday with Evan Neal doing that wild box jump?
Yeah, that was nuts, man.
Why would you even try that?
Training, baby.
Training, huh? Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Training.
Oh, this is wild. Looking at these quarterback rankings.
Yeah. Boy, I tell you what, Emory Jones, we'll get into this a little bit.
Woo.
Did you finally get the Doty?
Nope, not yet. Nope, not yet.
Oh, did you see where Caden Salter transferred to the Tennessee quarterback that got in all the trouble, got busted several times with weed?
Yep, I saw his name real quick. Oh, wow. Wow. Crazy to me.
Wait, which one's crazy? What are you?
Several of the last names that popped up when I got down to the bottom here. This whole thing is really, really interesting.
It's got Will Levis for Kentucky. I didn't. That's not who I thought they would end up starting. That'd be crazy. That was who.
Wow.
All right, about to head back in. All right, guys, rep.
Maybe if you saw ESPN's Football Power Index and the latest update, and it wasn't during the typical 6 to 9 in the morning or noon to 7 in the PM on Monday through Friday, you might want to give the Hot Take Hotline a call to vent. 803-978-6654 is the number of the Hot Take Hotline there for you 24/7, sponsored by Twin Peaks from the Men Who Never Settle. Listening down in Vista at 600 Gervais Street. But I mentioned that Hot Take Hotline, the Football Power Index, simply because the numbers are pretty brutal from the South Carolina perspective. I understand Gamecocks have lost 8 games each of the last 2 seasons, and the national perception of Shane Beamer and company is not very high, but I thought it would be higher than number 65 in the country is where the latest FPI, the Football Power Index from ESPN, has the Gamecocks, and 4.5 is the projected win total, I should say, for the ESPN FPI. Actually, it went up to 4.8, excuse me, but only has the Gamecocks scheduled to be favorites in 4 games and scheduled to be underdogs in 8 games. Now, all of that is relatively old news. The percentage of underdog is the surprising part to me. I thought it would be much closer to 50-50 for a couple of games, Bill, Tennessee and Missouri, where the Gamecocks are really, according to this Football Power Index, and take it for what it's worth, 30% chance to win is where it has the Gamecocks on the road at both Tennessee and Missouri, and only favored to win those games that you might have figured out, the Eastern Illinois, the East Carolina, and the Troy non-conference games, and Vanderbilt, an 82% chance to win, basically the only SEC favorite for Carolina in that one. The best chance to win outside of that is the home game against Kentucky, according to this Football Power Index, at 42.5. What do you make of those numbers?
I mean, I think they're fair. I don't think anybody would really argue with them. I think the most interesting thing is if you had me rank, like, all right, because and Patrick and I have like debated this, like, you talk about getting to 5 wins or just trying to get to 6, right? 4.8 is what you said. And you would like to think that South Carolina can beat Eastern Illinois, East Carolina, Troy, and Vanderbilt. There's your 4. The question is, what can they do against your next tier of games, which is Kentucky, Tennessee, Missouri? Tim, I would assume if we ranked them, if we ranked those games in terms of most difficult to least, those 3, for me, it would be on the road at Missouri. Kentucky at home would be the second hardest, and the least difficult in that would be Tennessee. Tennessee is to me a program. Obviously, they've lost 37 guys to the transfer portal. They do have 2 quarterbacks that will battle it out that have Power 5 experience in Joe Milton and Herndon Hooker, and you can certainly say that they've done more in their career than Luke Doty. So I completely get why they would have Tennessee as an advantage over South Carolina. But I would still think that, like, of the odds to win those games, Missouri would be the most difficult. Kentucky, because it's a home game, I'd probably have Kentucky ahead of Missouri if everything was equal. But I'd have Missouri the most difficult, Kentucky the second most difficult, and Tennessee as the easiest of those 3. But again,
I agree.
Look at it. You talk about the quarterback battle. You talk about the quarterback situations at both schools. You talk about home games versus away games. All that factors in, and so those are the 3 games you're looking at. In my opinion, is where South Carolina tries to get over that win total, get to 5, or maybe even get to 6.
No, I completely agree and am blown away by the Pro Football Focus quarterback rankings. You mentioned Hendon Hooker, the Virginia Tech transfer that is slated to start for Tennessee, and Josh Heupel in his first season. Pro Football Focus has recently ranked the 130 programs and the quarterbacks in order. And a little bit surprised where they went at the very top. Oklahoma's Spencer Rattler is number one, not massively surprised, but I thought North Carolina's Sam Howell would be over him. Howell is number two. And then number three is very surprising to me. Number 3 and 4 both reside in the state of Florida. Miami's De'Aaron King, who we talked a lot about recently with the name, image, likeness thing, the number 3 rated quarterback by Football Focus in the country. Surprises me. Not as big a surprise as Dylan Gabriel from UCF, the number 4 quarterback in the country. Indiana's Michael Penix Jr. at number 5, and then you get the first SEC quarterback in there with Ole Miss QB Matt Corral. Coastal Carolina's Grayson McCall is number 7 in the country, just ahead of Clemson's DJ Wanalele at number 8. Miles Brennan at number 9 for LSU, and then Keaton Slovis at 10 for Southern Cal. The guy he beat out, I think, is where you have to go next for an SEC guy. No, you don't. I'm shocked, too, that JT Daniels is all the way down at number 23, the Southern Cal transfer for Georgia. And then you have at least 3 other guys in the SEC ahead of him, including Florida's Emory Jones at 14, Missouri's Connor Bazelak at number 15 in the country, and the unproven yet talented Alabama young quarterback in Bryce Young at number 22, which I don't have nearly as much a problem as some of these other guys. Like Wake Forest's Sam Hartman is at number 21 ahead of Bryce Young. And then you guys throw out some numbers, throw out a guess. I would have guessed that Luke Doty was down on the list. I never would have guessed he was as far down as he is. Bill, cool with me throwing out these numbers for the other quarterbacks with South Carolina ties?
Go ahead.
Jake Bentley is the highest rated quarterback with South Carolina Gamecock ties, specifically, at least that I know of. He's rated 107 at South Alabama out of 130. Ryan Helinski with Northwestern rated 116, and Luke Doty for the Gamecocks rated 125 out of 130 from Pro Football Focus quarterback rankings. I think there are so many things to discuss breaking this thing down. Well, let's take a quick break before we do it. We'll come back and get into these quarterback rankings from Pro Football Focus that has Luke Doty ranked 125 out of 130. 803-404-6100. If you would like to weigh in, you can call or text. It's the early game on 107.5.
The home of the Gamecocks and new head football coach, Shane Beamer, 106.5 The Game.
Today's an absolute dream come true. Not
Get into some quarterback rankings, talk a little college football. But first, let me tell you about my good buddy Jacob Crowder, the mortgage guru with First Palmetto Bank. He and Brian Kovar have teamed up, and they're helping people all across the Midlands save money. They just need a little help from you. All you got to do is look at your mortgage statement, see what your interest rate is, maybe see what equity you've accrued over time in your house, and then give them a call this morning and talk about what you've got going on and how they can help you. It won't take you more than 5 or 10 minutes, and who knows, it could end up saving you lots of money in the long run. You just need to give them a phone call, 803-719-1005. That is Jacob's cell phone. You can email him, the letter J, Crowder, CROWDER at firstpalmetto.com. Interest rates have never been this low, and now is the time to capitalize. You can maybe pay off a credit card if you're able to refinance. If you've got equity in your home, you can get some money back, and at that point, you're looking to be in great shape. They just helped a buddy of theirs who was in the same exact situation. He got some money back, able to put a basketball court in for his son in the backyard. Why not see what Jacob and Brian can do for you? Give them a phone call today, 803-719-1005. Again, 803-719-1005. He's the mortgage guru, Jacob Crowder with First Palmetto Bank. You read, Chris,
Also,
you read the rankings.
Eastbound.
I don't know if there's something significant that dictates the metrics on them. because there's a breakdown of about the top 20 quarterbacks, and there's nothing really that leads you to believe that Emory Jones should be 14 ahead of Connor Bazelak, who actually started games last year and showed what he could do. Mackenzie Milton has been around for a while. Brock Purdy is a guy who again is behind Emory Floyd. The hype for Emory Floyd is kind of wild going into the year, and I would assume that's because of recruiting ranking. And then having Dan Mullen as his quarterbacks coach.
Sorry, putting out the tweet now of these guys and where they're ranked. And spelling Uiwanalele. Uiwanalele.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a.
Well, it's not fun. Not easy. Took me a little bit. Wow. Any ones that I'm missing besides McCall, Uiagalelei, Bentley, Helinski, and Doty?
Well, I think technically Sam Hartman is from Oceanside.
The Wake Forest quarterback?
Yeah, I think he's the one.
We'll leave them out.
Let me confirm that. South Lake Christian Academy. Maybe that's not him. Well, it says no, his birthplace was Charlotte, North Carolina. Yeah, leave him out. Yeah, don't do it. Just go with what you got. Oh, I was right. He's from North Carolina, but he moved and went to Oceanside Collegiate Academy. His high school was. So, okay.
Gotcha.
I wasn't wrong, but he transferred in and played.
Who was coaching there? Was that Will Greer's dad? Is that right?
I think you're right. I believe you're right. Yeah, I don't think there was a whole lot of metrics that necessarily went into this. Poor Jake Bentley, 107. Good Lord. You know what I didn't see on the list, and I skipped his name as I was just sitting here thinking? Let me go back. Where is Bo Nix?
Yep, I saw it. That's the first one that said, whoa. 67, I think. Let me double check. Yep, 67.
Wow. You want to go over under on when our buddy sends in a text now that we're talking football and it slightly involves Carolina?
Nah, I don't want to waste time.
You know, reading this, I'm weird like this. Reading some of these names, and like I scroll through and I see like the Western Michigan quarterback. I'm like, all right, get ready for some MAC action on Wednesday night. Oh, MACtion.
MACtion.
Well, if you say MACtion right off the bat, then people are like, oh, there he goes again, not being able to speak the English language, just throwing words together. You got to say MAC action and then combine them so people go, I kind of see what's going on there.
Kind of like watching Wimbledon.
That's just a speech impediment. It's really not nice to make fun of people with speech impediments.
No, it's not.
Bully. Let's see when we get. Oh, we got a big lineup on Tuesday, November 2nd. Miami, Ohio is at Ohio. Everybody knows that the Battle of Ohio is always a wild one. Ball State at Akron, and Eastern Michigan is at Toledo on a Tuesday night to start November.
We're going to head back in, and you're not going to have but about a minute.
We can get into that Tuesday night. Let's see.
All right, you guys are up.
Put out the tweet just in case you need to check it out for yourself. The Pro Football Focus quarterback rankings are out there, and they are about as bad as they could possibly be for Gamecock quarterbacks and former Gamecock quarterbacks, all ranked in the 100s. Jake Bentley leading the way, then Ryan Helinski, then Luke Doty. Daryl hit us up on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line with a question. Says, I got a question. Was Luke Doty named the starting QB? Yes, yeah.
45.
The front runner going into summer for the Gamecocks. But clearly not getting a lot of national respect from Pro Football Focus, ranked 125th out of 130. Bill, what I don't understand is how they rank programs like, for instance, Texas State doesn't have a starter right now. San Diego State, they rank 3 guys
15.
ahead of Luke Doty right now. Louisiana Monroe doesn't have a starting quarterback. They got 2 guys ranked ahead of Luke Doty. It's pretty mind-boggling, man. Fortunately, we got another hour to talk about it, right?
I think we should do that.
Hour 3 coming up here on the early game.
Clear. Yay, construction team is here.
Oh boy. Good morning, Hope. And you're right, Anthony. That MAC football, that November 2nd on a Tuesday night, I'm already fired up.
Over 1 million homeowners took advantage of refinancing or buying a
It's going to be a good time.
So yeah, so how did day 1 of the flag football camp go?
It went good. They had a couple of buddies going that they knew, and that worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
It was the first time in, let's see, today is July. It would have been, school ends in June in 2019, the first time they have both been out of the house for that long of a time, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Actually doing something since we kept them at home last year. So yeah, I got done with the show and my wife hadn't come back yet. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. Those dudes aren't going to be back here until after 1 o'clock. This is crazy.
Right.
The brave new world.
It's going to be somewhat quiet.
There's air to breathe. Yeah, Travis, we touched on the Team USA thing a little earlier. Yes, brutal. Exactly. That view's looking good again today, Bill.
It did not look quite as good last night, but it definitely looks better today.
Nice work working the American flag in over the shoulder.
Thank you. Yep.
That I'm sure is not yours, and you should not take credit for.
Let's
Exactly.
see if I turn it that way. Of course, then the door's right in the way.
Oh, it's better than
See what it
burning out
feels
our
like.
retinas.
Actually feels, I mean, I wouldn't confuse it with a fall morning just yet, but it's closer to a October morning than it is a July morning.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like we've been amazingly fortunate in the last 16 plus months with the weather.
Yeah, it's not been bad.
Or maybe it's just me comparing it to the other conditions of the world.
Right. Like, really, do we have a lot to complain about?
Interesting place to be, Trey.
I don't think I'm trying to do it. I think let's just play with something for a second here. If I wanted to do it, well, let's see how much the sun affects the backdrop if we were to kind of sit like that. You can kind of see me.
We could do it without that.
I could probably make that work.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
right there. Right there.
No, just go.
Yeah.
And
There's view.
then you can kind of see. Oh, see the little duck there? Can you see him? Is he down there?
Yeah, I see a little movement back there.
So now we can see the ducks.
Or Bill frozen in an action shot.
Uh-huh.
Oh, am I frozen? Because on mine it looks
You're not.
fine right now.
Yeah, you're back.
Oh, thank goodness.
It just froze for a second.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. Start the third hour of the trick. For sure.
Honestly, the way I've moved this table, I moved it because I never used this door. I could bring the computer right here and be sitting outside.
Why don't you do the show from in the tube?
Don't encourage him.
It's got a little hole in it right here. On this part worked good over the weekend.
That's what you need.
The little bottom part that holds you up there had a hole in it.
Should still work okay.
Yeah, it worked fine. I sat in it on Saturday. Got my had my Yeti cup. Had a rum and Sprite and juice, and then a bourbon and water. It's a good time.
But that's the thing, Troy. I don't think it is. I think there is plenty of legitimacy to it.
What am I supposed to give you hope for, Trey?
I think football season, maybe. I'm not sure about that either.
Ah.
Or maybe just living on Lake Murray. I'm not sure where Trey was on that. I get lost in some of his responses sometimes. So we're going all three breaks again this hour. Is that right, Jim?
We
Yeah.
are, because we've got lives
Weather
in
can be
each.
decent. Got it.
I think the weather's going to be decent. Might be a grilling day.
I'm so relieved.
Oh, we got some construction crew guys in the background. Oh,
I have them here too.
do what?
And I have them here as well.
Oh, kindred spirits we are.
Okay. Okay, throw it.
Low expectations, exactly what the Gamecocks need for this year perception-wise. We start on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. And now we're number 3 from the Cocky Codger. I hope nobody thinks, he continues, we are going to do anything talking about Gamecock football for year number 1. Under promise and over deliver. Just my opinion. Humble as always. Cocky Codger on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line 803-404-60. If you would like to join this coming off the latest PFT. That's what it's called, right? The Power Football Index or Football Power Index, FPI, I guess is. Yeah, that's the first one. It didn't even make any sense at all, right? FPI would be the letters that go along with Football Power Index. If you're speaking English today, which I try to do most of the time on the show. So that's from ESPN, and that's where the Gamecocks have a 4.8 win total according to their number crunching, but will only be favored in 4 games this season, or are only favored in their math to win 4 games, the 3 non-conference games and Vanderbilt. And the other one, the best chance to win according to their formula, is Kentucky at home with a 42% chance to win. The Tennessee game is at 31 and the Missouri game right at 30%, which is surprising to me. But that's a conversation we can get into at a different point, Bill. But when you were touching on that, you mentioned the Tennessee quarterback situation and the fact that Virginia Tech transfer Hendon Hooker gets into this Pro Football Focus quarterback rankings where he is in the top 30 somehow. And I think a lot of that has to do with Josh Heupel. So a lot of this, and we had another text in that I want to read that kind of goes into that an anonymous texter says, I was mentioning that some teams without even a named starting quarterback ranked ahead of Luke Doty, who is all the way down at 125 out of 130 quarterbacks in these rankings. But the texter's point is that those teams, it's not, I said it was mind-boggling. It's not mind-boggling. It just says that someone thinking there are teams out there that have a better stockpile of talent than Carolina does, right? Well, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I get it that South Carolina doesn't have a tremendously talented offensive roster returning, especially at the wide receiver position, but we all understand that they're talented at running back, and from a tight end position, they seem to be set up pretty well. And you're not going to tell me that Akron or Bowling Green, Texas State, Army, those are some of the programs that have their quarterbacks ranked above right now where Luke Doty is. Duke is ranked right above South Carolina, for instance, as well. That can't be the case. And I get it. Coastal Carolina had a tremendous season last year, but I don't even think that if you talk to their head coach right now or a lot of people around their program that they would argue that necessarily they're more talented than South Carolina on the offensive side of the ball, top to bottom, if you go for the whole roster. And Grayson McCall, the Coastal Carolina quarterback, is number 7 on the list from Pro Football Focus, one spot ahead of DJ Uiagalelei from Clemson. So what do you make of these rankings? And again, just for clarity's sake, I put out the tweet at 10-1075 just to rank, to point out the guys with South Carolina ties. You got McCall and Uiagalelei at 7 and 8, and then you got to go past 100 to get to the guys with Gamecock ties, which there are 3 now, with Jake Bentley at South Alabama at 107, Ryan Helinski at 116 from Northwestern, and Luke Doty at 125 for South Carolina.
So here's the one question I have. Luke Doty was a pretty highly thought of recruit that came in last year. He was one of the top dual threat quarterbacks in the country. He was, a guy that a lot of people thought down the line could potentially challenge Ryan Helinski. Again, let's go back to the recruiting period. So this is all what we thought, not what we've seen, what we know. But we all thought, Luke Doty had a very good career at Myrtle Beach. Was highly thought of. I think he's a top 100 player. I think he was 86 is what we narrowed it down to. He was right there because we did this a few weeks ago, and he was right there with Emory Floyd. He and Emory Floyd, in terms of rankings and everything, were the exact same. Okay.
You're talking about Emory Jones, right?
I'm sorry, Emory Jones. Emory Jones, the quarterback at Florida, who's currently ranked 14th. And I'm not. All I'm saying is we really haven't seen much of Emory Jones. We've seen him in some weird situations. He's not thrown the ball a ton. He's kind of an unknown. He's never started a game. Luke Doty, you saw at the end of last year. And what you saw from Luke Doty was a young man who needs to get better. He completed 60% of his passes. He threw for 405 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. This isn't to say that Luke Doty is the second coming of anybody. All right. We don't know what Luke Doty's going to be. But the performances he had were not awful. He's not the reason that South Carolina was beaten the way they were in the final 3 games. Okay. Does he need to improve? Yes. Do I think it's a foregone conclusion he's even the starting quarterback in the season opener against Eastern Illinois? No. I think Jason Brown may challenge him some. Luke Doty's got to get a lot better. This is not a case that Luke Doty should be even in the top 50. My question would be, if he never took a snap at quarterback last year, and Pro Football Focus was ranking this entirely based on recruiting rankings and not on what they'd seen, do you think he's hired?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's not saying much. I mean, a much higher recruit than Grayson McCall was thought of, right? for instance, and McCall's all the way up at number 7 and Doty's at 125. This is based on, I think, much more college production than it is any kind of recruiting rankings. And also the coach or system and their college production. To me, this is more an indictment on the University of South Carolina than it is on Luke Doty. And somebody said, somebody hit us up on the live stream, I believe it was, and mentioned, is this that list is a complete joke. That was Troy, right? I understand what you're saying, but I don't think it is. I mean, I think how many college football programs out there, Bill, have had quarterbacks drafted since a South Carolina quarterback was drafted? I'm guessing it might be about 124. The Gamecocks haven't had one. That is just reality. That's not to say that Luke Doty it won't be drafted someday or go on to be a good quarterback. That's just what has happened. And it's pretty mind-boggling. But that I think it's the perception of the program right now and not hiring a name brand. If go the other way, if Mike Bobo had come back as the offensive coordinator, I think that would have earned Luke Doty, I don't know how many spots, 20? You put him right around 100. That would probably, I think, give him the nod above some of those guys that had played quarterback for Carolina and had transferred out just because of Mike Bobo's track record with quarterback. Would you agree with that, or do you think that's off base?
That might actually seem pretty fair when just when you say like based on a coach and what he's done with quarterbacks in the past, that they would move him up. And you're right, the lack of knowledge of Marcus Satterfield, I think that's very fair. And so, I think there is something to the rankings. I think it's interesting. Again, one of the names that you and I searched for as we got on there was Bo Nix, and you said he was what, down at 67?
Yep, right in the middle, basically, of 130.
It's fun.
That's fair, isn't it? I think that's exactly fair for Bo Nix, because Bo Nix
can get on board with that
at times and been awful at other times, and so there's no reason to have him very high. But also, I don't think you can have him towards the bottom of the list, and that's why he sits kind of right in the middle. I get that evaluation. Some of these other ones are a little baffling to me, but that might just be from lack of recognition. For instance, the first one that really surprised me was Dylan Gabriel at number 4 and De'Aaron King being number 3 overall. I get it. De'Aaron King's been a productive college quarterback, but the third best in the entire country is surprising to me. And especially seeing you got a guy at number 23 down the list in JT Daniels, who I feel like is really poised. We've had the conversation about who do you put at the top of the SEC list coming back, Matt Corral or JT Daniels. I get it if you want to make the argument for one or the other. Well, Corral's listed number 6 on the list, and Daniels all the way down at number 23 behind a bunch of other SEC quarterbacks, which I don't understand, with Miles Brennan being number 9 from LSU. And then Emory Jones, like you mentioned, at Florida at 14. To me, that's just saying Dan Mullen knows college quarterbacking and is really good at it. No matter who's played for him, he's going to figure it out. And Emory Jones is just a later guy. I think Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri has a pretty good track record as well. And that's why Connor Bazelak, along with pretty good numbers from last year in the freshman season, is all the way up at number 15. Do we know if Mackenzie Milton is for sure going to be the guy at Florida State? I think that one is a tremendous reach at number 16 because of what the Florida State offensive line has been, one of the worst, if not the worst, in big-time college football in the last several seasons. Being able to overcome that, good luck, Mackenzie Milton. And then you got a relatively proven guy in Brock Purdy at number 17, one spot ahead of Brennan Armstrong from Virginia. Another name in here that Kent State's quarterback is number 12. Arkansas State's quarterback is number 13. Those are some of the mind-boggling ones that I think is just give Pro Football Focus some credit for, I guess, identifying these guys and being those college football nerds that really get into the details and crunch the numbers. But I have a hard time believing that those guys are basically 100-plus spots better than a talented guy in Luke Doty that hasn't had it much of an opportunity.
No, I'm with you on that. I think it's going to be interesting just to kind of see where exactly he ends up at the end of the season. And that this is the overall writing theme of South Carolina football right now. We have zero clue what to expect. I mean, there's just zero. I have no clue. Maybe Luke Doty ends up far exceeding expectation. Maybe he ends up being right where he's at. Maybe Marcus Satterfield turns him into something, we never expected. There is no clue in that. I think that's part of it. There was nothing in the spring game. The one thing I was excited about, one of the big things about going to the spring game I was excited to see was, all right, what does this offense really look like? What is it really? How are we going to define this offense going into the Eastern Illinois game? And I came out of the spring game going, I still really don't know anything about it. They threw the ball to Kerryon Joyner a couple times. I don't even know if they really looked at Nick Muse, who I think will be a bigger part of the offense than what was shown in the spring game. EJ Jenkins is a guy that, you continue to wonder about. Can any wide receiver step up, whether it's Joyner or Brooks or, Amarion Brown, who didn't play in the spring game? What does Kevin Harris and Marshawn Lloyd look like, who didn't play in the spring game? It's really hard to say who or what this team will end up looking like at all. And so I'm okay. I realize people are upset and saying, oh, these are the worst rankings ever. I do totally get them because I don't understand. If you're upset about a ranking, I think the one you pointed out, like Ryan Olinsky at least has a full body, a 1 year resume to work with, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's at 116. And I'm not saying that's high or low. I'm just, what do people think about that? Like, is that something you're upset? Because at least with Olinsky, you've seen the Alabama game. You've also seen other games that he participated in. And yet that's where they put Olinsky, is at 116, who, by the way, hasn't won the Northwestern job just yet. They're still going to have a fall battle for that. But
right, that is the only quarterback they listed there, as opposed to some other programs where they're slash with 2 quarterbacks or 3, and just shows you the lack of respect for the South Carolina program and the quarterback position right now from the Pro Football Focus rankings anyway. Craig says hopefully Luke Doty puts this up on his mirror and it drives him this summer. On the Facebook live stream where Craig is watching right now, up and rolling on YouTube and Twitter as well. If you'd like to check us out on video, love to have you. That video stream sponsored by Buford Lending this morning. Also up and rolling as usual on your FM dial and the audio stream on 1075thegame.com, the app, wherever you're listening or taking us in. We appreciate it today. Just getting rolling here in hour number 3. Love to hear more of your thoughts about these quarterback rankings right now. It's what we do in the month of July. And there are some out there, Bill, there are some articles that I feel like are just out there for clickbait, right? And I try not to legitimize those, or we try not to base a bunch of discussions on those because they are what they are, right? That's our world in 2021. You got to get clicks, you got to get people to look at it. And to do that, I think sometimes you can sensationalize an opinion or a ranking. I don't think that's what this is. I think that's the reason that I value Pro Football Focus, is they tend to go off of numbers and more analytics and are data driven. But with that said, I am very surprised with the numbers we're seeing here. We'll continue to discuss and love to hear from you, like I mentioned. You're listening to The Early Game. It's 107.5 The Game.
I stepped out back just a second ago during the top of the hour break, was mentioning it actually is not that bad outside. It feels actually closer to like a morning you'd get in October as opposed to a humid morning in July. But let's all be honest. We're still going to run into those incredibly hot days, whether it's August or September. It's going to be 95 plus. You're going to be sweating when you come inside. Man, you're going to want that air conditioner working. And if you're not calling AAA Heating and Air today to just come inspect your unit, just make sure everything's working well. Whew, you're running a big risk. Don't wait around. Call AAA Heating and Air today, 803-677-1500. If they come out and they find something wrong, they're going to work with you. They're going to treat you like a family member. They're not going to try and take advantage of you. They offer great deals like this. If something's wrong with your heating and air unit, they'll offer you a $1,500 rebate to take it away. Then work with you on 0% financing, zero money down to offer you a brand new unit to make it affordable for you so it doesn't break the bank. That's what treating you well. That's what treating you like a family member does. And that's why I trust in Roy and Dana Finley with AAA Heating and Air, 803-677-1500. When all that's said and finished, then you've got the comfort and the security of a 15-year parts and labor warranty that comes along with everything that AAA Heating and Air offer. It's a reason you need to give them a call today. 803-677-1500. Call AAA Heating and Air. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. No, Don, I don't think AAA Heating and Air is. I think Chris Collinsworth was affiliated with it one time, but I don't think he is now. Could be wrong. That's actually a good Patrick question.
I don't even understand the implication, though. He is the analyst for the biggest football games on the planet, the top crew.
Well, maybe I don't know. I don't know where he's going. Maybe he just doesn't like Chris Collinsworth, but maybe because he's an NFL guy and trying to rate college quarterbacks. Maybe.
No, I don't think it's a Collinsworth thing, or if it is, he's definitely not involved in the rankings of the college quarterbacks.
But yeah, let's see. The guy who did this, I thought there was a name attached to it. Anthony Tresh, Treash. Anthony Tresh. With the help of PFF's College Advanced Database, we can proceed to answer the question, taking into account each projected starter's play-by-play grading profile and several other data points in addition to film and scheme review. Here are PFF's annual college quarterback rankings for all 130 FBS programs. There you go. That's how they do it.
So can we go back to last year? Do they have 2020 anyway?
I don't know. I mean, I would assume they do. I would assume that is possible.
Yeah, I do not have the subscription. I'm guessing you got to look that up, man.
Morning with. RL, I don't know if they rank other positions. We'll keep an eye on it.
Look up PFF College QBs 2020. Yes, so they do this in conjunction with releasing the preseason magazine. Last year was Trevor Lawrence 1. Oh, this is classic. Trevor Lawrence 1, Justin Fields 2. You want to guess who they had at number 3 last year?
Sam Howell?
He was 4.
I feel like you're going to tell me it's somebody who had a really bad year. Who had a bad year? Smith? Well, no. Rattler?
No, I'll look where he was.
He didn't have a bad year. I just kind of.
Rattler was 20 going into last year.
Brock Purdy at 3, because people were pretty high on him.
Purdy was 8, I think.
All right, who you got? I'd keep Kyle Trask, Mac Jones. I feel like you can have me doing this all morning.
You could probably go forever.
Who was it?
And
Jamie Newman, Georgia.
we're heading back in.
Oh, a guy who didn't even play, huh?
Wow, this is fascinating. I still haven't got to the Gamecock quarterback last year. So I'll just scroll down all the way. Let's go to the bottom up. That might be easier.
All right. Get us in back in. Guys, rep.
Always try to give you perspective on this show. It's easy to talk about one list or one rankings and then say, oh, the worst ever, best ever. What did they do the year before? That's what I'm doing right now. I'm going back to the 2020 quarterback rankings from Pro Football Focus, now talking about this year's ranking and where Luke Doty is all the way down at 125 out of 130. So last year, it was not even the starting quarterback who had the ranking for the Gamecocks. Bill, you want to guess what Pro Football Focus did for Carolina last year at this point?
Hilinski, you said not even the starting quarterback who had the ranking. So you would say it was going to be Hilinski?
Yep.
Yeah.
And you want to guess the number they had him at of 130, Ryan Hilinski, headed into the 2020 season for Gamecock football?
I'd say I'd put him in Bo Nix territory, 65 to 75.
100 is where they had Ryan Hilinski last year. This year they have him at what is it, 116, I think?
Yeah.
For Northwestern. Just the blurb on him is interesting to revisit. Hilinski was one of the most conservative quarterbacks we saw last season, talking about 2019. He had an average depth target of just 7.1 yards, the third lowest mark in the FBS. In turn, South Carolina had a lethargic offense that ranked 115th in expected points added per pass play. And when Hilinski did throw it downfield, the results weren't pretty. He had an uncatchable pass rate on throws 10-plus yards downfield of 53.3%, the third worst in the FBS. No risk it, no biscuit is how they ended the blurb on Ryan Hilinski. This time last year, ranked 100 out of 130, and this year it's 125th, where Luke Doty comes in, and there is no blurb attached to this year's lowest ranked quarterbacks. Looks like Pro Football Focus might have done a little bit more work last year on this thing than this year, because I think the explanation is interesting to hear, right? Okay, if you have a guy ranked as low as you do, why? And it looks like they stopped doing the blurbs this year at number 51. And they just called everybody after that tier 4 in average up to number 79. And then they put tier 5 needs to improve, more reps. That made it all the way down to 102. And then it was another tier, number 6 of quarterbacks from Pro Football Focus, where Luke Doty and the former Carolina quarterbacks, Jake Bentley at 107, Hilinski at 116, needs significant improvement. And it's just the only line that goes with that is these quarterback situations are marred by past poor play or unpromising candidates to lead the offense in 2021. And I think that last part is probably what irks Gamecock fans maybe the most. I don't quite get that. Unpromising candidates to lead the offense. That's where you go back to your recruiting rankings and the reputation that Luke Doty had coming out of high school. Do you think this is part of the discussion we were having this time last year, where Luke Doty was also training as a wide receiver and part of that reputation, I guess he kind of developed being as athletic as he was and being utilized like he was with the Will Muschamp and Mike Bobo coaching staff, though?
You think that plays into his ranking? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, that's my question. Do you think that's what happened here?
And I apologize. Did you just read this? What we did is what they did is how they acquired this information and in this ranking. That I read off air.
No, I didn't read the top there. Just going through the data, basically.
So because there's a big part of this. It says with the help. This is how, for those wondering, you go, how in the world did they acquire this knowledge? It says with the help of PFF's College Advanced Database, we can proceed to answer the question, taking into account each projected starter's play-by-play grading profile and several other data points, in addition to film and scheme review. Here are PFF's annual college quarterback rankings for all 130 FBS programs. Look, do we know? And I think this is part of the ranking. Do we know what the scheme is for South Carolina at this point?
Nope.
Like, did anybody watch that? By the way, the spring game, I've already said this once. If you're interested, I'll confirm this. I believe it is today is South Carolina's takeover day on the SEC network. They're doing the takeover. If you flip over right now, something we've already talked about, South Carolina and Florida, the Game 1 series from this past year is on, I believe, at 5 o'clock today. is South Carolina's spring game. So if you haven't seen it on television, if you've missed it, if you didn't record it, obviously kind of the weird, wacky spring game that really was only about a half and a lot of players were out. But if you just want to go back and watch, if you've forgotten, because what now, Tim? It's been 3 months ago that the spring game happened. And so if you're thinking, I've kind of forgotten how everybody looked and how Zaquandre White looked that day, I want to check out Luke Doty again. I believe you can check that out. I'll get a confirmation on that. I think it is 5 o'clock today that they're re-showing the South Carolina spring game on the SEC network. But that was the one thing that I watched. I was excited to go to the spring game and say, okay, what exactly does this offense look like? And then I came out, and of course, Heath and I do the game, and we're coming down the elevator. I was like, didn't learn a whole lot right there. Not real sure what exactly it's going to look like. Yeah, today is currently – I'm sorry, they got women's volleyball going on right now. Florida at South Carolina. I got it confused. 2 o'clock today is the Florida-South Carolina baseball game, so I apologize. It's to give you the complete rundown. Women's volleyball right now, Florida versus South Carolina. 10 a.m. women's soccer, South Carolina versus Arkansas. 12 p.m. noon, Kentucky versus South Carolina women's basketball. And then 2 p.m. today, South Carolina, Florida baseball game 1. 5 p.m. is South Carolina's Garnet and Black spring game. 7 p.m. is the SEC women's basketball tournament, Georgia versus South Carolina. And 9 o'clock tonight, if you want to relive the final victory of the Will Muschamp era, Auburn and South Carolina will be your 9 o'clock game tonight. But, I mean, that's got to be played into this ranking. You have no clue what the scheme will be from Marcus Satterfield this year for Luke Doty and how they'll utilize him, utilize his legs, how many deep shots they'll take, or is it just all turning around and handing it off to Harris, Lloyd, and White, and any other running back to get back there?
No doubt about it. We'll continue to discuss. We see your opinions flooding in on the Pool Care Heating and Air text line. For instance, Matthew, who happens to be a Clemson fan, just wanted to know where Sam Howell is at this year, and he's number 2 behind Oklahoma quarterback Spencer Rattler in the Pro Football Focus rankings of quarterbacks headed into the 2021 season, where Luke Doty, the Gamecock quarterback, 125 out of 130. Let us know what you think. It's the early game. It's 107.5 The Game.
It's a new year. They're hungry, they're driven in a new
A lot to prove, and home is what I just took away from what I heard there. That's where our discussion is right now. That's also what Beaufort Lending can do for you. They feel like they can prove to you right now, and a great time to look at refinancing, or maybe you're looking into another mortgage situation, a conventional construction loan. Maybe you're looking into buying a second home or renovating that current home you have. It's a VA loan, whatever it is. Benji Getzy and his team at Beaufort Lending want to prove to you that they can be the best lender out there for you. And I can tell you from personal experience that they have been a tremendous partner in my search now for upgrading the housing situation. You need a lender that you can trust and that will be there for you when you need them. And when you call 843-524-2404, you start the process of developing that relationship with Beaufort Lending. They've been doing it for almost 25 years and they just are asking you to put them on your list right now. You might have other relationships with other lenders. Let them prove it to you. Let them show you that they can be the lender for your home. And Beaufort Lending has shown that to me for sure. Benji Getzy, Beaufort Lending. Again, that phone number, give them a call at 843-524-2404.
From the Shepherd's Glass traffic.
I apologize, Hope. I thought the baseball game was on as much at 2. I got confused on that because I remember reading last night they were having to figure out how to cut that game up because it wasn't a 3-hour game.
Right. Yeah, it took me a while to find the tweet there. I need to just retweet it, actually. I was trying to help you out searching for the schedule, but you found it about the time I found it.
Yeah, I knew Steve Fink had retweeted it, so I was trying to locate it.
I mean, you can argue the very easy way to evaluate a year of sports is to go look at that SEC network takeover schedule, right?
Yeah, that's a rough, and I get it. You put something, but don't you want to put like, I mean, I feel like South Carolina is the one in charge of picking out the games,
right?
Don't you maybe want to go back and like give somebody a good memory and pick out the South Carolina Georgia game from what 2011 or 2012? Spurrier coach, like go back and I think Beamer. I don't know if Beamer was on that staff, but just all the guys he's trying to get back in the program.
Right. Well, it looks all of them are from the last year, right?
Yeah, it's basically almost like a year in review type deal.
Right. I'm guessing they might. The SEC network might be requiring that.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or the SEC in general.
Well, and I think I did look at the others. I don't think anybody's playing any old games.
Right. That's what I mean.
So I do agree with you, but.
Right. That's what we're discussing there, Hope. I'm thinking not. Yeah, that's definitely what it looks like, Alan, about North Carolina and Clemson. And just wanted to confirm, Bill, Newman did not get drafted from Georgia, right? I know he never played at Georgia. But he did get drafted, did he?
I thought he did get drafted late.
Well, I wanted to confirm. I'll double check.
I got it. See if I got it quicker than you, though.
Eagles?
Hey, went undrafted. Undrafted free agent. Wow. I mean, you talk about a fall. Hope I don't. Yeah, we don't. It doesn't sound. But I mean, you should. You showcase some of your games. If you're doing it today, honestly, and that's maybe that's what we should have done, or maybe we do it tomorrow. What do we got tomorrow? We'll talk a little All-Star game, but if you were setting a lineup, what would be like the 10 best games you'd show of South Carolina's history?
Pretty good.
Like if you had to set the lineup, you got 3 championship games you'd show. Maybe go with another baseball game. Go with the Michael Roth. I think it was the Michael Roth Clemson game in the first College World Series, and that'd be number 4.
We're heading back in. All right, guys are up.
Trying to give you some perspective on this latest news. The PFF, Pro Football Focus, college quarterback rankings are out, and they are pretty wild as it pertains to Gamecock quarterbacks or quarterbacks with Gamecock ties, where 125 is the number beside Luke Doty. And somebody else mentioned it earlier and just said that is the most ridiculous thing they've ever heard. And I don't want to I would never give credence. We never talk about it if I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. I think there is merit, and Pro Football Focus goes off a bunch of data and analytics and the whole thing. So I don't think it's ridiculous. I think it's low, but I think Bill, it's more a product of the program over the last several years than it is specifically for Luke Doty, who we've only seen really for 2 starts in his college career at the end of a lost season last year, where a bunch of guys on the defensive side of the ball had already opted out in a lot of ways, and the offense was severely struggling, especially at the one position that you need to help out a young quarterback at wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, look, this leads to a broader conversation that we don't have time for, and that's like, what are you most interested to see just from South Carolina? And you talk about building a offense around a young quarterback who did struggle, and nobody's trying to say that Luke Doty didn't struggle, but I also thought he did some decent things there for a kid who had to bounce back and forth between wide receiver, had to kind of come in late in the season. So I guess what I center on is building an offense, which you just kind of brought up, building an offense around your quarterback for this year and what exactly you do with them. And that'll be what's interesting to watch with Marcus Satterfield, who is an unknown. I mean, there we can go back to Tennessee. What is it? Chattanooga? Not Chattanooga. Was it Tennessee Chattanooga or Chattanooga, I think, or Tennessee Tech? I hate to do that and not remember where exactly he was offensive coordinator at, but we can go back to that and look at some stats. But that doesn't necessarily mean it'll translate to the SEC. So again, I'm kind of fascinated to just see what Marcus Satterfield, who's a complete unknown, will look like running and calling this offense.
And I'm going back. Somebody hit us up and was asking about the 2019 PFF quarterback ranking. So I'm going and scrolling back through those to try to give you some perspective on this, because I gave Bill a chance to guess going into last year, top two quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence at Clemson, Justin Fields at Ohio State. If you can guess the number 3 quarterback from Pro Football Focus, you A, have an excellent memory, congratulations, and B, I'm very concerned about you and you need to get out more.
Fair.
Because it's a guy who didn't even play at all last year and then did not get drafted. Jamie Newman, the Wake Forest transfer, sitting as the logical guy to start for Georgia at this point last year. Before this was pre-JT Daniels transfer from Southern Cal, I believe, right, Bill? That happened relatively late in the process last year in the summer. And Jamie Newman ended up opting out, then ended up falling out, I guess is the best way to put it, of the NFL draft. Just some perspective there for last year, where Pro Football Focus had Ryan Helinski as the Gamecock starter, which we all thought was true, I think, Bill. It's fair to say, right? We all thought that was going to be the case. At this point last year, I think it wasn't until a month from now, as maybe 5 more weeks from now, that we figured out that it sounded like Colin Hill might actually be the guy that Mike Bobo wanted to turn to as his starter. And I'm in the hundreds now from a couple of years ago. There it is. 104 is where Ryan Helinski and Jake Bentley were ranked for South Carolina in 2019. 100 was where Ryan Helinski was ranked this time last year in 2020. Now fast forward to this year, and you have all 3 guys with Gamecock quarterback ties that have played the position for Carolina, and Jake Bentley ranked 107 at South Alabama, Ryan Helinski ranked 116 for Northwestern, and Luke Doty at 125 for the Gamecocks. Obviously, these things are pretty wild in how they vary too. So you can't obviously take these as gospel, because in that same 2019 ranking, it was a couple of guys at the University at Houston, De'Aaron King being one of them, along with Clayton Tune, ranked at number 98. And fast forward 2 years, now De'Aaron King is number 3 on the list, behind Spencer Rattler at Oklahoma, who's number 1, and then number 2, Sam Howell from North Carolina. So we always take these things with a grain of salt, Bill. I think the main thing that I take out of this is the lack of national respect for not just the Gamecock quarterback, but the Gamecock program overall, and the consistency with which that has now become the trend in the last 3 years from Pro Football Focus going into the season. 100 plus is where the South Carolina quarterback has ranked in their 1 through 130 rankings. And you have to give them credit, right? And say that the last 2 years has been a pretty accurate ranking, I would think, where Gamecock quarterbacks just haven't been productive. Now, it hasn't turned out to be exactly who they thought. You can't blame them for having Jake Bentley up there. I guess it ended up turning turning out to be right in the 2019 season where Jake Bentley goes down as the starter, injured at the end of game number 1, and then Helinski takes over. So it was kind of the combination of those two. And then they were absolutely wrong last year where Ryan Helinski barely gets a snap, and it was mostly Colin Hill and then Luke Doty at the end of the season. But it was a less than stellar year, putting it kindly, of production from the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, again, to me, it's you haven't had good quarterback play since. I mean, I guess you've had a sporadic. You had Helinski against Alabama, then you had Helinski against Missouri, then you had. I thought he was good against Georgia in that victory in 2019, and then ever since really that Georgia game, Tim, I don't know if you can say you've had above average. I think it'd be average quarterback play. You've seen some moments here and there. Colin Hill at times last year was okay, but at times he wasn't. And average, I think, would be the exact way to phrase it. Ryan,
I think ineffective. I think you got to go ineffective.
So
I think average is kind.
Okay, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you on that. But I think what you've got here is you had a period there. Say what you want about him. Well, even go back to Blake Mitchell. Blake, you had a succession of quarterbacks there with Mitchell to if you want to throw Chris Smelly in there, who was up and down, but Steven Garcia, obviously, to Connor Shaw, to Dylan Thompson, where you had consistent quarterback play. Obviously, much, much better. And Connor Shaw carries some of that, but much better than what you've seen since the departure of Dylan Thompson. And Jake Bentley at times I think was really good, but he could have one quarter that was good and one quarter that was atrocious. He was very bipolar when it came to how he would play. And so we'll see. Again, to me, yeah, you've got to find the formula, the formations, the scheme that fits Luke Doty and whatever else you plan to do moving forward with the quarterbacks you've got on the roster.
803-446-100. If you would like to get in a final word, you can call or text. It's the early game here.
Hold on. I just, because I'll forget this, was during the break. Just one thing to think about as we head to break. Remember, was it 3 years ago? I think it was Sports Illustrated had South Carolina's quarterback room, rated amongst the top 4 in the nation? Is that right?
Right.
Just weird.
Bentley, Helinski, and who else was, and Dakereon Joyner. That's right. And I remember having that discussion about that position being in such a much better place than it had been recently.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it turned out on paper that was the case. In reality, absolutely not. Good point, Bill. It's the early game here on 107.5.
The home of the Gamecocks and new head football coach, Shane Beamer.
I'm a process-driven person. We're going to get started day one, advancing this program and making it better.
107.5 The Game.
It was a really big storm in Lexington last night. It probably was actually looking at the radar. It was all over kind of the west side of the Midlands, I believe is what it was, stretching up to Saluda County and all that. Huge storm that blew through. And as you're waking up this morning, if you have a pool, you're probably looking out there and it's covered with leaves. It's probably got debris in it, maybe a chair or two. Who knows? There was some serious wind last night. And you're probably wanting to use your pool this weekend, but you're not wanting to spend the time, the money, to go to the store to clean it. Use a professional. Tracy Corley with Corley Pool Solutions is there to help you. They're ready to do it. Give them a phone call today, 803-445-8109. Someone with 20 plus years in the business of taking care of people's pool. He wants it done correctly. He wants you to be happy, and he wants you to be ready to use it when you are ready. So you can just walk out the back door, jump straight in the pool, and be ready to go. You can do a cannonball, you can do a dive, but what's most important, your pool is ready to be used. Flat rate pricing, including all the chemicals. He'll come out there, he'll make sure that your pool is ready to go on Saturday morning. You can get the grill going. You don't have to worry about going to the store and getting the chemicals. Nope. Using Corley Pool Solutions, make sure that your pool is ready to go. 803-445-8109. Again, that's 803-445-8109. That's Corley Pool Solutions.
It's a fair question to ask for sure. RL. That's a pretty funny answer. You see that, Bill?
Yeah, is it a fair? What is this a fair? What would the total? I think the question is, Alan, what do you put the over under on starts for both quarterbacks?
Right. Game started.
Game started.
Agreed.
Do you put it at 12?
Yeah.
Half of the season for both.
12 was I was thinking. Yeah. Yeah, you guys, Alan, you might want to make a wager with Richard, who said the over under on Helinski touchdown passes this year at Northwestern was 20.
Yeah.
Sounds like you RL would like some
He wants some of the action. He's in. Yeah, I think that's.
I bet if we looked it up, how many touchdown passes have Gamecock quarterbacks even thrown the last couple of years?
Have thrown?
Yep, I bet it ain't many.
Did Helinski get to double digits 2 years ago?
I think he had 10 touchdowns and 7, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
That up, but I think that sticks out in my head for some reason.
So last year, quarterback touchdowns. Wow. Do you think they averaged 1 a game?
Played 10 games, so yeah, I'll say 1. I think they ended up with 11.
8 total.
Oh.
Eight touchdowns, 9 interceptions last year. So
wow. So was that 10 and 7 number right the year before?
11 and 5.
But for Helinski?
Yeah.
What a dummy I am.
So
and then what about
hold on. The year before they threw. The year before, did they average 1 touchdown pass a game?
Talking about in Bentley's year?
Bentley and Helinski.
So you're talking about 2019.
Yeah.
So if I just heard 11 and 5, and I know Bentley had none. Yeah, they didn't, right? They had 11 that year.
Had 12. Bentley threw 1 in that game. Apparently, I don't remember, but
wow. Right, head back in.
So they averaged 1 touchdown. So the last 2 years, they've played 22 games and thrown 20 touchdowns.
Wow.
And then Bentley threw 27 in
Year before
2018.
You guys are up.
Alan started our conversation on the YouTube live stream chat saying, is this a fair question? What will be the total touchdown passes this year between Helinski and Doty? Absolutely a fair question. I think the question would be, of fairness, is what would you put that number at? And Dylan, I agree that maybe the more interesting question is what would you put the over-under on for combined total starts for those two guys? And at this point, I'm with you, Bill. You go half the season with all the question marks going in, and you'd say 12, because we have no idea if Ryan Helinski is going to be the starting quarterback at Northwestern. We presume that Luke Doty will be the starting quarterback at Carolina, but at this point last year, we were all presuming that Ryan Helinski was the starting quarterback at Carolina, which never happened in the 2020 season. And speaking of the 2020 season, we went back and looked at some numbers about touchdown passes for the last couple of years for the Gamecock football program. And to me, Bill, that is probably the biggest explanation for the number that we've been talking about this morning, for the most part, of 125, the Football Focus ranking out of 130 quarterbacks in FBS football, is where Luke Doty comes in their preview for what they think is going to happen this year. Go ahead and give them the numbers that you looked up about touchdown passes in the last couple of seasons.
Last 2 seasons, obviously you had Jake Bentley for 1 game, Ryan Helinski for 11, Colin Hill for 6, 7.5, and Luke Doty with 2 starts, or excuse me, I guess Colin Hill with 8 starts, Luke Doty with 2, 22 games played, 20 touchdowns thrown in the last 22 games. 22 games played, 20 touchdowns thrown.
It's kind of hard.
But I think it's and you can blame. I don't know who you want to blame. I don't know if you want to say, all right, it was a combination of offensive coordinators, combination of bad, questionable quarterbacks. I mean, I think there's a lot to look at. But if you start with just trying to improve upon that number, that seems like a good direction to just start the season with. Can South Carolina average 1 touchdown pass a game in 2021?
40.
Thanks for being a part of the program today. Appreciate you making us part of your routine. A bunch of you have weighed in on the Cool Care Heating and Air text line. My apologies if I wasn't able to get your comment in. We did the best we could today. Enjoyed talking about the Home Run Derby and Pete Alonso's domination last night. Hope hit us up with a tremendous
15.
stat a little bit earlier on the live chat. 9 career games Pete Alonso played against the Gamecocks at Florida. 0 career home runs against Gamecock pitching in that time. Impressive stuff. Dan Patrick Shows coming up next here on 107.5 The Game.
This is Gamecock Athletics Director Ray Tanner.
I doubt it, Travis. Maybe one day we'll hear that full story.
For the ones who get going.
RL, thanks for the contributions today. Anthony, Hope, see all you guys in the morning. Thanks for checking us out. Who knows what we'll get on to tomorrow?
Oh,